I made over $100,000 in an airdrop from a Web3 video game just playing it. So I mean, there you go.
I feel like people would want to know, because you said that like you didn't even realize you were earning these tokens, you were just playing a game. If you were to seek this out, how would you know which games you could play that have the potential to, pay you for playing them in the way that you made money here? They heard that guy I was talking to mention that he made $100,000 playing a video game, and they want to know, well, what video games pay? How do I find a game that I could make the money on? What do I look for? What's up, Sophia? I know they can, but it doesn't, like, there are laws, like, you can't discriminate. If they're banning people from their platform, especially if those people are, here, let me unmute over here. If they're banning people from their platform, especially if those people are partnered in making money and this is their livelihood, then you can't, like, ban them for being Jewish. Like, Twitch is an American company. It has to abide by American laws. Like, you can't, there are discrimination laws against that kind of thing. You can't just, like, ban an entire country.
Are you talking to me? Or?
Well, I'm talking to my chat, but you can feel free to join in now. Sorry, I was going over doing some research.
Yeah, I was a bit confused. I was like, wait, we haven't started the convo yet. Did I miss?
I do different streams on YouTube and Twitch. Yeah, I'm live right now on YouTube, Twitch, Kick, and Rumble. So I'm live on multiple platforms in case I do get banned from Twitch. But Twitch's racism is fucking blatant at this point, and I want to see them sued.
Yeah.
Like, I want to see them sued. I want a court to, like, look at it, because unfortunately our laws haven't caught up with the internet, so there are, like, no specific laws on the books for stuff that happens online like this for streaming platforms. So I'm curious to see how the law would interpret that and, like, basically set a standard for how they have to operate. Because some standards need to be set, because it's not just Twitch. Like, these platforms in general, X or Twitter or whatever you want to call it now, does the same thing. Like, Elon Musk will claim it's a free speech platform, but he also did the same thing to Destiny. He didn't ban him. Like, Twitch just banned Destiny for some milquetoast reason, and the real reason is because Hasan didn't like him and because he didn't agree with their politics. Elon Musk, same thing. Destiny didn't agree with his politics. Destiny's, the biggest political fucking leftist guy on and he's not as far left as Hasan, but he's a pretty big pundit. He's a pretty big influencer, and his political views are the opposite of Elon Musk. So Elon Musk didn't ban him, but Elon Musk took away his monetization, like demonetized him forever on X. No fucking reason given. Just as soon as he took over, he looked at Destiny's tweets and was like, nope. So, yeah, free speech apparently is free, because Elon Musk isn't going to let you get paid for it. Do I happen to face anything by myself? What do you mean? Face anything by myself? But I know, like, almost every platform does that to some degree, but that's why, like, a lawsuit or something needs to go through court, so precedent is set and standards are set and rules are put in place for what they can and can't do to stop that, because they shouldn't be allowed to do that stuff. This whole, like, excuse of it being a private company and it's a private platform. It's not a private platform. It's a public platform. You're allowing the public on it. Like, the owner of Walmart can't be like, well, we're a private business, but you open your doors to the public. Like, the people greeter at Walmart can't stand at the fucking door and turn away black people because they don't want black people in the store. That's not allowed. Even though it is a private business, you can't fucking do that. Like, this is the online version of a Walmart. It's an online space that people can just wander into, just like any other public fucking store. So you, like, the online rules need to match the real world rules, because right now they don't, and these platforms do that stuff, and there needs to be more transparency. The laws need to state, like, if I had to, like, set the laws, I would say, first of all, like, every single ban, if you're going to permanently ban a user from your platform, a specific reason must be cited and sourced. You can't just ban them and A, not tell them, or B, give them a fucking generic statement like hate speech. Okay, what did I say specifically so that it can be evaluated? Like, you deserve to know why you were told you can't come back to a place.
If I might add something to that.
Go ahead. That's what we're here for. Open discussion time.
I take it with a grain of salt. It's not, let's say, verified yet, but Richie Torres is looking to lead a congressional oversight hearing and pull Dan Clancy, if not Dan Clancy and Hassan, to answer before Congress for this.
That I would love to see. I know Dan Saltman, co-host of Destiny's Anything Else podcast. Like that guy, he's the one that made the video I went over yesterday. Just like he didn't just make the video, like he made a document outlining every single instance he could find of rules being broken and people not being punished. Every single like tweet and thing that like Dan Clancy himself has liked and participated in and, like co-signed and signed off on. Like he's basically just he's done he's done Congress and the courtrooms work for them and outlined everything they've did step by step. He found and archived deleted Reddit threads, deleted Twitter posts, like he's got all of this information saved and hosted on his own fucking servers. So Amazon can't shut him down. So they can't like bury this stuff. He is archiving it as it happens, and he's archived stuff from the past. He's been building this shit for a while, and now he's just putting it out there. I do want to see them go before Congress, but the problem with
what's really disturbing though, because I mean, I don't have much but time on my hands. I've chosen to follow this Twitch situation a bit, and when I say a bit, I mean much more than the average person would.
You and me both.
Well, yeah, fair enough. But what's really so let me ask you. I'm going to ask you in the form of a question, but if it seems too elusive, then I'll just spit it. Right. So,
okay.
What do you think the pushback against Dan is right now? Not Dan Clancy, but Dan Can't Stream, the guy leading the charge.
Dan Saltman, the Destiny's friend? Correct. The pushback is 100% Hassan fans.
No, but what do you, and it's not actually necessarily 100% Hassan fans. Mainly, but what do you think the anti-argument for what Dan is doing is?
What, if I could steel man their position and try to play devil's advocate here? They're gonna...
No, I'm just saying, what do you think? I mean, again, if it seems too elusive, I'll just spit it.
I mean, they're gonna... Because it all hinges on... Like, a lot of Dan's arguments and stuff hinge on them replacing the word Jew with Zionist. And a lot of the argument against that is going to fall back to, oh, that's not what we mean. That's not what Zionist means. Zionist doesn't mean Jew. So then they're going to fall back to the dictionary definition of Zionist. They're dog whistling. They think they found a cheat code that allows them to talk about Jews and use Jewish slurs, but just replace the word Jew with
Let me make it more clear then. I can see how I came off too ambiguous. Let me make it more clear. What do you think the people who know the word Zionist is a dog whistle? What do you think their pushback is? Meaning the people they're not playing word games with the word Zionist, but they still are pushing back. What do you think their pushback is?
I can't think of a legitimate pushback that they would have. The people who know the word. And
would you hate it's never legitimate, but think outside the realm of legitimacy.
I see you're getting at something specific. Most of the arguments I've heard have been about the word Zionist itself and about it being like you're friends with Destiny. Destiny has a grudge against Hassan. This isn't about Twitch. Yeah, like they're just basically delegitimizing his attacks.
Taking out the Zionist argument, and I can see that. I'm just beating around the bush. You want me to just spit it?
Oh yeah. Just spit it out.
Well, if only Dan wouldn't document the crime, then all these small streamers wouldn't lose their ad revenue. If only the Jews would just shut up, then.
I had not thought to go that simple and basic, because that is a terrible argument.
Well, it's a great argument if you hate Jews, though, is the point.
Yeah, but all it does is like prove his side of the argument. That's like a guy beating his wife and then being like, well, I would beat you so bad if you didn't make me do you know you make me do this right. If you would act right, I wouldn't have to beat your ass. Like it doesn't.
Of course, it's like that. It's more like, how
It's
dare you take a picture of me beating my wife? If you didn't take the picture, then nobody here would be
yeah.
going to
Then no one
jail.
would know. Yeah, it would have been fine if you hadn't snitched. Yeah,
Right.
it's
Right.
a
So let me
it's
say this
childlike
right here,
logic.
because I don't want to name drop on your stream, but let's say you went
Oh,
on YouTube and you searched the word Twitch and you looked for some of the biggest people streaming about the issue as of late. Let's just
which
say
I
it that
probably
way.
have already done. I probably
And you
am
looked
gonna
at
know what you're
some of the
talking about.
arguments that they've been having with Dan. Like, let me ask you this: have you noticed that when YouTubers, specifically focusing on Twitch drama,
Yeah.
discuss the issue, they spend about an hour and a half trying to nail down any possible other reason other than Jew hatred. And they go, well, maybe it's this. No, it can't be that because of this. Well, maybe it's this. Well, it can't be that because of this. And they just keep trying to find a reason other than anti Semitism why all of this is happening.
Yeah.
And they just do that for an hour and a half. And then when Dan says something like, how the hell can you guys not see what this is? Why are you making me work so hard for a basic concession? They say demeaning comments like, because you won't shut up about it. You're just getting annoying, bro. Oh, man, it's because your mom won't give me any puss, bro. Oh, man.
Yeah, so it sounds
I'm
like they're
quoting.
grasping at straws. Like if it were me, because I can think of some YouTubers that have done that didn't give him pushback, and they're more like, well, we want to make sure that your boat doesn't leak, so we're trying to see if we can poke holes in your
We really
argument.
want to help fight against Jew hatred, and the best way to do that is poke 1,000 holes in the boat that's holding up the flag of this is Jew hatred.
Well, it's more to make sure we can't poke holes in the boat. So we're desperately looking to see, is there a way they can get out of this, and if there is, how do we counter that? I mean, that's good debate prep stuff. To like, okay, if I say this, they're going to counter with this. Like, you look for the counters, you look for the things that people would try to argue against them, so that you're prepared for them. So
I've seen that. I'm not saying that doesn't exist, but the line I mentioned, by the way, about why are you guys making me work so hard just to get a basic concession, and the response being because your mom won't give me any puss.
yeah,
Well, I'll tell you
that's
right
terrible.
now that well, who do you think said that?
I can think of a few that probably fit that bill.
It was Destiny.
Oh, yeah, then that's 100%. Yeah, I think I remember hearing him say it because I
So
do watch
he
Destiny a
works
lot.
for an hour and 30 minutes to try to find any other reason than Jew hatred. And when they can't, when it has to be Jew hatred, Dan says, "Why can't you just say it's anti-Semitism?" And the response is, "Because your mom won't give me any puss." Just think about how insane that is. Hey, my fellow Jewish friend, why don't you let me
Well, you
poke
know
a
why
thousand
Destiny
holes in
says
your...
that, though, right?
Well, hold on. Imagine having to watch your friends try to come up with any other reason than the one you've said, and they say it's in good faith, but when they finally have to bite the bullet and say what everyone already knows, they just insult you.
Yeah, well, I mean that's the dynamic him and Dan have to begin with. They insult each other a lot, but the reason Destiny does stuff like that is exactly the reason I outlined. He's trying to poke holes in the boat, and then when he can't, he's going to show Dan the reaction that normal people are going to give to see how prepared for it Dan is. And
I
usually
mean, maybe,
after
but
usually after he's done joking, I'm pretty sure I don't pay for Destiny's Patreon, so I can't see the full. Like, he does this thing with
it's
this
this on
podcast.
YouTube.
Well, he does this thing with this podcast where he puts an hour of the podcast for free on YouTube, but the actual podcast is 3 hours long and it's on his Patreon. You have to pay to see the other 2 hours. So I'm pretty sure that if we were to pay for his Patreon and watch the rest of that podcast, I'm sure he said it in the Anything Else podcast, and you were to watch the rest of that 2 hour long podcast, then
Counter argument.
yeah.
I mean, that's literally right before Destiny ends the entire stream and Dan gets off the call.
Yeah, but these conversations carry on between multiple mediums. Like, he'll talk to him on stream, and then he'll talk to him during the podcast because they host the podcast together in the same room, and usually they go into more detail then. And then he'll explain, you know why I did that on stream, right? I was trying to see if you were prepared for what you're walking into.
Man, let me grant you this. I understand there's definitely a trash talk
Oh, it's
culture
been good, James.
on Twitch. I mean, that's undeniable, and I know that those guys like to do stuff like that. Albeit, it would seem a very crass statement at that exact moment after so much work to get the most minor of concessions.
I,
Remember what we talked about not giving a cookie even though it's clearly deserved?
yeah, but I'm saying I think he gave the cookie later. Is what I'm saying. This is kind of their dynamic. I've been watching Destiny for a long time, and yeah, I mean he's a shit talker. And to be fair, so the fuck is Dan. Dan actually does it way worse than Destiny, to the point that sometimes he irritates me watching their podcast, because I'm like, Dan, will you shut the fuck up and just let them talk about the clip for a minute? Like,
So,
stop
so
talking shit for a moment. Like, yeah.
I'm gonna
So
make the counter argument. All right, hear me out here, Ray. This is the alternative reason why
I have been.
Destiny, and forget about Destiny for a second, why most people are railing lines of pure copium when it comes to what is happening on Twitch or colleges or protests or whatever. Who cares, right? Here's why the pure copium is coming out. Because if you admit that there is a serious problem with Jew hatred, there are implications that come with that statement of fact. And those implications are very nasty for your society,
Oh yeah.
for your personal life, and as I think history may well have shown with decent precedent, when it comes to insane Jew hatred, most people really snort pure lines of copium until the last second. Just my take on it.
Yeah, well, you're not wrong, because all right. So for people that aren't Destiny, Destiny's Dan's Destiny's like Dan's best friend. Like his shit talking is. I'm gonna choke up to shit talking. Like I've seen them go back and forth and do this before, where Destiny tries to steel man the opposite side and tries to basically role play. But people who aren't Destiny, those other people, they will desperately try to avoid having to bite that bullet and admit to it, because like the implications that come with admitting to it. So they desperately try to avoid the argument. They desperately try to poke holes in it. They desperately try to sink that ship. And when they can't sink the ship, then they go to, Hassan's tactics or character assassination. They go to trying to decredit you and make it seem like you're the crazy one. So now it's a lot of name calling. It's a lot of personal attacks. It's a lot of character assassination. It's a lot of, oh, this guy's a conspiracy theorist. Yeah, like they try to make you look crazy for saying the thing that you were able to show. We all saw the thing, but yeah, it's a lot of gaslighting. After that, they will never admit that. Yeah, we just don't like Jews. Like you're never going to get them to admit that. That's why
Clarify.
the
You're not going to
lashing.
wait. Sorry. Clarify. Who's not going to admit it?
People like Hassan, Frogan, like even some of the YouTubers who are staunchly defending Twitch and trying to lash out for it. Like you're never going to get those people to admit the thing we all know is true.
Oh, sure, of course. But no, I meant that regular folk, and I was using Destiny as an example, maybe too much. But my point wasn't that Jew haters will never admit it. It's that regular folk who see it with their own eyes. I mean, you seem to be a bit of an exception, to be fair. Actually, you're quite the exception here, which is a good thing. But most people won't admit it with their own, when they see it with their own eyes, because of the implication it has for their own. Like, let me put it just super liminal. If you knew 5 years from now your country was going to have a civil war over Jew hatred, that's an extreme scenario, but it's
Okay.
just a hypothetical, right? Well, you'd have to do things. You'd have to start prepping for food. You'd have to start buying more ammo. You'd have to think about where you want to live, blah, 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 blah. There would be implications for how you'd actually have to live your life. So I wasn't referring to people like Hassan, right? I was
Oh
saying
yeah.
regular folk
If you're
won't
talking
bite
about
that
like
bullet.
like your average citizen, the population as a whole, not just with Jew hatred, but when it comes to any of this type of stuff, tends to have a head in the sand mentality. Like, they try to avoid it, they try not to engage with it, and anyone who does is labeled a conspiracy theorist. So they try to go with whatever the mainstream is, and right now, hating Jews isn't exactly the mainstream. They try to pretend like it's not happening, you know, cover the eyes, cover the ears, la 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 la, until it affects them. That's how your average everyday person functions, especially in the world of politics. That's what they do. Is they don't care about an issue, they don't care about a thing until they have to address it. Because you're right, that means you have to take some personal responsibility, and at some point you're going to have to act. And most people don't. Most everyday average person doesn't want to do that. They don't want to have to act.
I mean, historically, they don't act. They just regret not acting 4 years later when they're burning their chairs for firewood in Austria, going, seems like being annexed by Germany wasn't the best plan.
Yeah, like right now, the most action you're going to get out of the average everyday person is voting, and you know that's it. I did my part. I voted, and what comes after comes after. But I did my
I
part.
think you're actually. Let me pay you a compliment here, Death. I mean, you are not snorting the copium. You're here on your stream talking about Jew hatred. I'll be honest with you. You probably figured this out already, but I've talked about this subject quite a lot with many people over the last year, and like you're in the top 5 people I've met who aren't coping like immediately. Like you're actually here on your stream talking about it without any kind of whatever you want to call it, like head in the sand type nature. Like you're actually like, it's here, it's bad. What are we doing to do about it? Kind of
Yeah,
thing.
I don't know. That's just the way I'm built. Like I don't have that. Once I see a thing, I don't have that ability that most people seem to have, where they can just ignore it or unsee it. Like I'm a facts and logic guy, and when things add up, they just add up. Like I can't pretend I didn't see the thing after it's been shown to me. And
But you are doing something good about it. I mean, talking about it honestly. I mean, if that is a thing. It's a good
I
thing.
would agree if more people had this ability. Like it's so frustrating watching some of. Did you see Destiny's debate with Sarah Palin?
I did. I did.
My God, it's so frustrating. That woman dodges questions like she's in the fucking Matrix. Like it's so fucking infuriating. Like why can't we just have an honest conversation? Because the honest part is, you are all of those things he said you are, and just dodge the question. Like it's. I don't see how more people don't like it. I try not to lose faith in humanity over it because I'm like, how do more people not see this? Because I'm thinking all of these same people who would support, you know, that side and all their question dodging and all of the stuff that she's doing, if they were having a conversation with anyone in real life that they knew, and they acted the way she's acting and never answered a singular question and played this Jeopardy game where we answer a question with a question and you keep trying to change the subject, they would immediately become suspicious of that person. But for some reason, when it's on TV and it's a politician and it's about a topic that they're on the side of, they are suddenly fine with it. Like I don't know, my brain just doesn't work that way. I can't do that. Like once I've seen the cracks in your argument and I've seen how weak things are, I can't help but want to break it now because I just want the truth. If we can get past this, then we can actually fix maybe whatever the issue is. Just because I think you're wrong doesn't mean that we can't still have a conversation and get on the same side about fixing the problem. But the first step towards solving any problem is admitting there is one.
Well, let me give you an analogy here. Maybe it's a bit esoteric, but I think it's valid. So I'm gonna substitute the word Jew hatred for cancer. Okay, so I'm just gonna say cancer instead of Jew hatred. You with me so far? But okay, here we go.
Yeah, I'm with him.
So you in this analogy are society, and cancer is analogous to Jew hatred. You go to your doctor, and your doctor says, you got a pretty bad case of cancer, pancreatic stage 4. If we don't act now, you're going to die. it's going to be very bad. And your response to the doctor is, well, there is no such thing as cancer. And if there is a thing as cancer, it's probably a Zionist plot anyway. And even if there was a cure for it, I mean, the Jews are probably controlling it. So I don't see a point in even addressing it.
You're right. Most
Okay,
people
you're
never go
probably
that
going
far
to
down the
die
rabbit
of
hole.
cancer.
Yeah, that's always the
Right.
analogy
So,
that you go to, because most people, gun to their head, life on their line, wouldn't stand by any of these beliefs that they claim they have. Now, there are some people out there crazy enough.
I don't know.
I've
In my analogy, I'm saying that
Because
our
it happened during
society.
COVID. There were people who believed COVID wasn't real, it couldn't be COVID, and they'd sit there in the hospital on ventilators until they died, refusing to take the vaccine. That did happen.
Right, and to that point, I'm saying that, I mean, and this is a bit tin hat fringe, and nobody really shares my opinion here. Another way of saying that is nobody's listening to my ass. But I'm
Well,
pretty sure
you got a
we're
platform right
going.
now, small as it may be.
Well, that doesn't mean that they're. I mean, they're hearing my words, but I don't think they'll necessarily take them as true. But anyway, um, yeah, basically, I mean, we are watching. This is going to sound too big, so you can beat it back a bit. But we are basically watching some version of Nazism truly take hold. Remember last time we talked, and I was like telling you about all these things that are happening, and you were like, I haven't seen that stuff, and I'm like, well, you might want to start looking. No disrespect, kind of thing. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, I mean, I can, you can just go into spaces right now. You can find two rooms probably at
Yeah,
least
it took
where
me a
they're
minute to
talking about.
find the. Oh man, you want to talk about instantly depressing myself? It took me a minute to find like how to find spaces. I found apparently Spaces is not a Twitter thing; it's a separate thing, hosted by somebody else, and Twitter just like partners with them. So I found the website for Spaces and all the stuff they like, all the sites there where you can access Spaces on, and they allow you to just like search for open spaces, and you can search by keyword. They'll show you what's trending and what's, and oh man, the spaces I saw, and I popped in a few of them, just in listener mode. Like I did talk, and I'm just listening, and the crazy stuff that's out there. Oh, it's depressing. It's lose faith in humanity level stuff.
Well, I mean, I would look into. I mean, let me. Do you mind if I read you something real quick?
Yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
I know a lot of bookmarks. Let me just get through some of these. Let's see here. Mm-hmm. Let me link you. Can I pin this link to the top of the room?
Yeah. I'm still learning how Twitter rooms work, but I think I remember how to get to it.
So you can just look at the room. Oh, you're on your computer.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm on the PC.
it
I mean, if it
still
helps, I do
shows
have a
up.
Discord. If you'd rather do that, you could just post it up in the Discord, and I can click on that.
Here, let me see if this works. Tell me if that came up.
Let's see if I can remember how
It
to
should take
access.
like 10 seconds or
Oh, yep,
so.
there it goes. Okay.
Okay,
From
so
from Palestine action.
I'll just give you the skinny, so you don't have to like go too hard into it. You can go at it at your own leisure. The basic gist of it is Barclays Bank in the UK just decided no longer to have any investment in Israel. The key factor in their decision was that people keep smashing, burning, and destroying all their stores, saying they'll never stop until they do.
So they gave in to the pressure, basically.
Well, it's that or have no functioning banks at any given
Yeah.
moment. Now, I seem to remember it being illegal to smash banks, and if you do it, the cops come and stop you. But there's this whole two-tier cure thing where no, they don't. So I guess you can just do it. Did you know that the Los Angeles Teachers Union, I'm not sure if I got the acronym right, just had a meeting with 35,000 teachers that attended, and one of the main talking points was how to integrate anti-Israel and anti-Zionist, quote unquote, teachings into schools grades K through 12. That's just California.
Do they have like a curriculum, or is this written somewhere?
I, let me grab the bookmark. Give me just 2 seconds here. Sure, I'm
'Cause
going to
that
put up a
seems
couple ones.
like I would want to hear the specific wording in that, because that seems
Here, they
a
even have
bit
footage of the
blatant
meeting. Check
to,
this out.
to,
They
to
even
just
have
have it.
footage of the meeting.
Okay.
So here, I'll give you a great quote. Some of the things we can do as teachers is to organize. We just have to be intelligent on how we do that. We have to know that Zionists and others are going to try and catch us in any way that can get us into trouble. That's one's on camera. Oh
Okay.
Lord.
Um,
You know that game
which
Wolfenstein, Death?
is which is again going to fall back to, because you know where that's going to go. That's going to fall back to the question of, well, did she mean Zionist, or did she mean Jew Zionist? Like, how was she using the word? It's the problem with them replacing the word Jew with Zionist. Zionist does have a meaning, and it doesn't technically mean Jew, but it's one of those things where it basically means Jew. Like, not all Zionists are Jew, or not all Jews are Zionists, but all Zionists are Jews, kind of thing.
Let me ask you something, Death. Because a lot of these people who say, I know you're not saying this to be clear, but a lot of people say, oh, Zionism's not Judaism. I find they often don't know very much about Judaism. Do you know what the Shema is?
Well, when it comes to that teacher, since you mentioned that,
But just,
discrimination is
but
against the
just,
law, but ignorance is not. So it's a, did she know better, or did she
well,
think it means a different thing? Yeah.
I feel like where I'm going to go with this is that they've clearly had conversations with quote unquote Zionists, and I would bet those Zionists push back. And this is something I bet those Zionists have said. You might not have heard it before, but I'm going to
Now
say it now.
those are
Do you know what the Shema?
conversations I would want to see.
Well, you can have a feature sort of, but let me. Do you know what the Shema is?
Not off the top of my head.
Okay. The Shema is debatably one of the most important prayers in all of Judaism. You would start saying it in synagogue when you were basically able to speak,
Okay.
right? Here's how it goes. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Okay, notice that word, Yisrael.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think that prayer is about?
Well, without knowing Hebrew, I'm gonna say it sounds very similar to Israel.
It does, well, right. Very similar. I wonder why that might be. You ever seen that movie, Indiana Jones, where he fights the Nazis and they have the Ark of the
Of
Covenant?
course.
Wait, you know what the covenant between God and Abraham is? That Abraham and his children shall live in the land of.
Yeah.
I bet you can fill in the blank.
Yeah. That they have a right to that land, and
It's
that's
not
part
so
of why
much that
the.
they have a right to it.
I mean, religiously speaking, like their God tells them they are. Like their God tells
Well,
them they're going to be there.
yeah, but to be fair, if you want to get into it, God didn't say you're allowed to kill anyone or do anything in your way.
Oh,
He
of
just
course.
said, and you have to remember in the context of the time, right? I mean, how many people were even on Earth according to biblical theology at this point in time, right? Like, that's a long
You
ass
are
time
you are
ago.
already thinking way deeper into this than most people.
Well, but
Because
that's not what I'm trying to get across. The claim Judaism is not Zionism. Okay, that's a claim, not an opinion. The
right.
question is it true or false? And what happens is that 95% of Jews come up and say something like, "Do you know any Jewish prayer?" They go, "No." You go, "Well, here's one." They're like, "Well, I don't care what you think." You're like, "So, well, do you care what 95% of Jewish people think?" They're like, "No, I don't care what 95% of Jewish people think." Oh, so you don't want to be told by 95% of Jewish people that the first prayer they ever learned to sing from a tiny, tiny age is one of love for Israel and the want to live in that land? Like, yeah, I don't care about that.
I think
So it seems that they can't claim ignorance once they're told this by the entire Jewish community. And they still say, fuck off, I'm just going to think what I want.
well, a lot of them see, that's the problem with the whole Jewish community thing is there's the Jewish faith, and then there's like Jewish the ethnicity. There are, and I've met some. There are plenty of Jews who are, I mean, they're Jewish because they're a Jew, but they don't practice Judaism. They don't know anything about it.
Well,
So
that's the whole. No, but see, no, you bring up a great point, Daph. If they wanted to say the ethnicity is not the same thing as Zionism, but they're not. They're saying this religion is not the same thing. Notice they speak of the religion, not the ethnicity.
So they specify when they say that, when they say Jewish, so they make it clear they're talking about the religion and not the ethnicity.
Well, I mean, clearly you've seen all the slogans, right? You've seen Judaism is not Zionism. They used the name of the religion.
True.
I mean, again, it comes down to, are you willing to be amenable to a dialogue with a person of that faith who has some knowledge in it, right? And if the question is no, it says a lot about the person. If I want to make claims about Christianity, but I'm not willing to speak to any priest ever, it doesn't really seem that I know what I'm talking about, nor am I willing to learn.
Yeah, you're a bad faith actor. You're acting in bad faith. You know you're acting in bad faith. Your opinion, your mind is already made up. No one's going to change it. Even when and I've met Christians like that all the time, that even when shown evidence to the contrary, well, a belief is a belief, and you can't, like, when someone's made up their mind on this thing, good luck changing it. And that's kind of the way that they function, is I don't care what you think. This is what I believe. Even if the thing you believe is wrong, once they have a belief, this is what I believe, then they stick with it. And that's how, that's how Christianity ended up with so many different, sects of Christianity. You got, Mormon, you got Catholic, you got Presbyterian, Baptist, etc. And then all of these little offshoots, because they all believe something slightly different, even though they were all given the same text to work with. So they all got the same information, but they came to something different. And that's kind of the same thing that's happening there, is you're giving them the same information that you got, but they've come to a completely different conclusion.
I mean, to be fair, Zionism, like, there's a great quote. If you ask two Zionists what is Zionism, you got 7 answers.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a religious component, there's a political component, but I mean, again, what's really
right now I'm playing a lot of Fortnite and
shooters,
but I'll play almost
back
anything.
On the Shema, especially when they're Christian,
not and that having Twitter debates while I game.
Is that, I mean, it's in the Bible. It's not just in the Torah, it's in the Bible. It's called the Shema in the Bible.
Yeah.
Right? What do you think Jews are referred to in the Quran? They're called the children of Israel.
Yeah.
That's how they're described in the Quran.
Yeah, it's very clear. But the same thing happens in Christianity, where things are very clear, and then they just choose to ignore it. Like I have had that conversation. I can't believe I just died right there. I have had that conversation more than once with Christians, where I'm trying to tell them what's in their book, and then I can show it to them, and they still deny it, and they go, "Well, that's not what he mean." I'm like, but he said it outright. Like, we mean that's not what he meant. Well, and this phenomenon transfers over into real life. You see it with you see it with fucking Trump, where he'll say something outright in plain English, and then you get the response, well, sure, we all know Trump talks in hyperbole. Like, they're fucking translating for him. Like, what do you do with that?
Well, just before we segue, in case we do, just to go back, because earlier you mentioned some people, they're ethnically Jewish, but they don't practice the religion, or perhaps even the culture, right? Because maybe some people grew up religiously Jewish, they chose to be atheists later, right? And they happen to be ethnically Jewish, right? But here's kind of the irony. I'm white. My skin's as white as moonlight. I mean, I'm not rocking.
Well, I mean, my camera's on. You can all see I'm whiter than sour cream.
Well, there you go. Right. So, but what if you took a a genealogy test, right? Turns out you were 10% sub-Saharan African. It happens,
It does.
right? Maybe you were 10% Greek. How would you feel about a guy who's 10% ethnically African but has no African culture and practices no African religions walking up to somebody and saying, 95% of Africans might disagree with me, but as an African, okay, I just want to say that the religion of Igbo Nigeria is not the same as the political ideology they practice. Your eyes would screw up and you'd call this guy a lunatic.
You're describing Elon Musk.
Well, I'm describing people who.
He is African, and he does that shit.
Well, I mean, technically, yeah, I see what you're saying, but this is the problem when you meet people who walk up and they say, "Look, I'm Jewish, so I can say that Zionism's not Judaism." You go like, you kind of look at them like, "Okay, so what's your claim to that?"
I
They
have
say,
a
"Well, technically."
I have a general disdain, and I think I said it in one of my videos on my YouTube page that I will immediately just like, you want to get on my opposition side real quick, like, pet peeve of mine, I hate anyone who starts a sentence with "as a insert thing here," immediately making themselves the spokesperson for whatever thing that they're about to say. And I'm like, who the fuck do you think you are that you get to speak for everybody and go, well, as of this thing, I know everything? Because you don't. 90% of the time when people do that, they don't. They do it as a way to give themselves instant credit for a thing they know nothing about. Here's what you don't hear. You don't hear experts on a thing say, as an expert, blah blah blah. Like they just give you the thing. They give you the knowledge. Neil deGrasse Tyson isn't ever going as a physicist, as a this. He might say something generic, like as an educator, to explain why he does what he does or why he says what he says. But it's because I need you to understand I'm trying to educate you. I'm not trying to insult you. Like, that might be as close as he comes to it.
Let me go one step. I agree, by the way, with all that 100%. Let me go one step further. If someone said to you, as a Jew, I blah 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 blah, how would you know if they're just lying?
Right, and exactly, you have it's instant credibility that you're not supposed to question, and if you question it, that's why they do it. Because if you question it, because I could walk up to somebody right now, despite having a wife and 2 kids, and be like, as a gay man, and
Right.
anyone who questioned it is instantly homophobic.
Right.
Like, I just win by default.
Honestly, most of the time, I question it every time, because when people say it to me, I go, "Oh, of course, you clearly know about Judaism. Could you just do me one favor? Could you just say the prayer over the wine? Could you just say the prayer over the bread? Could you say any prayer you would have been
Yeah,
learning?
but I mean, which is fine. That's usually what I do is, but you have to play these fucking word games where you have to find a way to question them without, like, basically saying, I don't believe you. I don't believe you're Jewish. Like, you have to find a way to make them prove it, but you can't, like, outright call them on the lie and be like, no, you're not.
No, Steve. So I'm not questioning whether they're ethnically Jewish. I'm questioning if they know anything
religious,
about the
right.
religion.
Right.
No, I'm not even questioning
but even
whether
then,
they're religious. I'm questioning if they know about the religion.
But even then, if you were to outright say it and say, no, you're not Jewish, not religiously Jewish, I don't believe you, like, you end up looking like a racist.
I'm not saying they're. Let me be super clear. I don't question their ethnicity. I don't question their genes. I don't question what they believe. I question that they're an expert in a particular religion that they happen to follow to the point to where they can make claims about what it is and what it's not. I could be a Christian. That doesn't mean I'm qualified.
They have made the shield useless, and he's kind of missed what I was saying.
The zeitgeist or whatever.
I do have Instagram.
The infinite amount of
same name
stuff
is on here.
In Christian
I'm the easiest person to find online.
Like, going to church doesn't make me knowledgeable about, say, Peter. They're not. That'd be like me saying I'm from New York, so anything that happened there, I'm an expert at.
I guess I worded that poorly. When I mean you can question it, what you can't do is tell them they're wrong.
I can and I do.
Because, like, if you do that to someone who starts out with the, we'll do the Christian thing. Well, as a Christian, I this, and this, and then you go, well, no, as a Christian, you should be doing this. You're wrong. Then they're like, they immediately attack you. You look like you're discriminating. It's like they find a way to discredit that. And well, you wouldn't understand because you're not Christian. How are you going to tell a Christian how to act Christian? You're not even a Christian. Yeah, like you're immediately discredited for not being the thing. And everything they say about it, everyone just has to believe because they are the thing. Of course they know. They live it every day. You don't. How dare you question it? And that's kind of the attitude that gets followed.
Well, I think what's important is depends on their claim. So, for example, if they said, as a Christian, St. Peter wasn't the first pope, I would immediately say, okay, you might be a Christian, but you know nothing about Christian history.
Oh, I've done that with the Bible, and then they always fall back to well, it's open to interpretation. Like, they'll never just admit they're wrong.
That's why I use the St. Peter example.
Yeah,
right?
Like you'll never get that out of them. Even if you're 100% right, you're never going to get them to admit they're wrong. You have to you do have to call it out in certain ways. Otherwise, you end up being the one that looks bad. You look like a guy who's just attacking a Jew or attacking a Christian or attacking a this or attacking a that because you questioned their faith. Like in just the sheer act of questioning someone's faith immediately puts you on the defensive because now you look like the bad guy. That's just where people's mind go. Like the average everyday person, that's kind of where their mind goes of who are you to question my faith? Like that's where people's feelings are on it. So you now have to explain yourself despite being right.
You might be right in the court of public opinion, but technically they started by questioning a faith themselves. They made a claim about an entire religion, so I think they're the ones that
I agree with you, but unfortunately, court of public opinion society don't see it that way. Anytime they use this, then now in order for you, despite the burden of proof being on the accuser, you still have to basically prove the thing that's right, even though they're the ones making a claim.
Well, I will say this, tying it all back to the beginning. I mean, it's very bad when the society is so overcome with true hatred that...
Not sure what you mean by PFP.
Conversations go something like, I don't care what 95% of Jews believe. I only care what the 5% who agree with me believe. It's like, oh, shit. That's bad.
I think back to my father with a lot of this, and that's probably why I think the way I do is... One of his favorite phrases, even when I would give him, and I'm like, what do I do with this? Even when I would show him evidence, if he had his mind set on something and he believed a thing, even if I showed him evidence to the contrary and I could point it out, he would just eventually fall back to, well, I don't believe that. As if I just showed him a lie. Even though I could prove it. Then what do you do with that?
Honestly, and I know that's a rhetorical question, but honestly now, whenever I meet people like that, when they say things like, well, that's not what I believe, or that's not how I remember it, or I don't remember that, or I can't, any of those things, I just immediately respond with, well, then your memory is bad, or you're remembering wrong, or your belief is incorrect. And if they say I believe, I say, well, then what you believe is incorrect. I just immediately hammer back on it, because if you allow them, and I'm not trying to make it about your dad or anything, obviously, but if you allow them to use
go ahead.
that,
I brought it up, so it's fair game.
Well, I think it's just in general, though. If you allow them to, my least favorite one is I don't remember that.
Yep.
Because what are you supposed to do? Accuse them of lying, or accuse them of lying and say you do believe it, but what you won't admit it? I just immediately say, well, then your memory is bad. You have a bad ability to recall things correctly, and even though you don't remember it, that is in fact what happened.
So I try stuff like that. I'll keep going to my dad as an example, because it's like learning to argue against people came from learning to argue against him, because he does so much of the same underhanded tricks I see from society. I can point them out, because I'm like, oh my God, a lot of people are like my dad. Him trying to explain to me that my brother isn't racist after the way he was acting. So I guess backstory, I don't know how much of my streamer stuff you've watched. My wife's black. So of course I bring her home, And brother starts acting different immediately.
Wait,
Doesn't like it. It's very obvious.
wait. The gay brother is racist.
No, this is a different brother. I have two.
Okay, I was about to say.
But yeah,
Like, Jesus, golly.
kind of the gay one too. If we're being honest,
Oh,
that's a
Lord.
different story.
Oh,
But
Lord, have mercy.
my dad starts trying to like make excuses for my brother acting the way he was acting, like because I lost it, and I'm giving him all this evidence that hey, he's doing this shit, and it's super obvious. Everyone sees it. Like you got to tell him like this is, and it's not like I was just, oh, we're just dating, he's just waiting for it to pass. No, we're married and have two children at this point. Like whether he likes it or not, she's family now. Like this is happening. This is where we're at. But like my child walks up to him. She's 3 years old at the time, and she walks up to him and she sees him from behind, and we look similar. We're brothers. Same size, roughly, like we get mistaken for each other, especially from behind, all the time. So the child walks up to him, thinking it's me, says daddy, grabs his hand, and he looks down and sees the little brown child touching him and just like pulls away in disgust, like makes the kid cry, jerks his hand away from her. Like he just doesn't even want this kid. And everyone fucking saw it. Everyone there saw it. So I'm telling dad about it. I'm like, hey, he can think what he wants to think, but he can't act that. Like at family functions, he just has to behave. He just has to. I don't care what his opinion is, but he has to fucking behave. And then my dad starts with the copium, and he's like, your brother's not racist. I was like, I'm sorry, can you explain that? And he's like, yeah, well, I mean, he just don't care for him. It's not that he don't like black people, son. He just don't care for him. What the fuck does that even mean?
It means they're gaslighting you.
Yeah, I'm like, what's the difference? I'm trying to get him to be and he's like, oh, he's got plenty of black friends and stuff. They ain't for him. Like he would marry one. I'm like, I'm not asking him to marry my wife. I'm asking him to fucking touch my child when she wants to hold his hand. Just treat the child the same way he would another child. So it is,
Yeah,
but
it's
it's the mental gymnastics part of like my mind was blown with the like there's always an excuse for it. Like there's always a mental way to wrap their head around it, where it's, well, he's not racist because he has this and this, but he doesn't care for him the way that you do. So it's different but not racist. Yeah, it's that. It's a bunch of that.
Well, he's not racist. He's just anti-African, right? He's not anti-black. He's anti-African, right? Clearly.
Well, he just don't care for him. Not the same way that I would.
I'm doing the Zionist joke.
He's just anti-brown people.
Well, he's not anti-brown people. He's just anti-brownness, right? There's a clear nuanced difference.
Yeah, because if a white person got a tan, you're right. That's different. My bad.
I'm not racist. I'm just pro old-timey uniforms, and that's why I wear this outfit.
I'm just traditionalist, yeah. Or the famous one with rednecks like my dad with the whole Confederate flag thing. It's not hate, it's heritage.
Let me ask you this, Beth. How long ago did that happen? Like weeks or months? Or years?
That was the last day I spoke to my brother. So if I'm giving like full disclosure and giving you the full lore, so after that, I took my dad back into his bedroom and we had a conversation, and I basically just like, all right, I put up with bullshit like this all my life, but now it's affecting my children and I'm not putting them through that. So like something's gotta give. Like we're at a point now where something's going to change, and I guess they didn't believe me when I said it, because I was like, this is all I asked. Because my older brother, the gay one, did some very similar things, and my sister as well. So they're kind of all on the same team, and somehow I became the bad guy in this. So I was like, okay, well, we got to either hash this out or I'm leaving. And when I say I'm leaving, I mean like I'm not coming back until this changes. Like something's got to happen. All I asked was that, oh shit, I just fell. Okay. All I ask is that I even offered to pay and everything. I said, we need to go out to dinner as a family, not my wife, just me, you, brothers, sisters, mom, just our family. We'll go out to a dinner, public place, so it doesn't get too out of hand, and we just need to sit down and fucking work this shit out. Figure out how this is going to work. Find a way to make this work. And my dad refused. He didn't just refuse, he got excessively angry about it. That's never going to fucking happen. They aren't going to agree to it. I'm not going to force them. It's never going to fucking happen. Basically, I was left in the position where, hey, I either accept things as is or I walk. And I told him I was going to walk, and I guess he didn't believe me. That was about 10 years ago.
Oh, shit. Okay. That's a long time. Have they reached out to you ever?
Nope. I have never heard from them again.
And maybe I'm going to cope a little bit on my own here. It's not like a blocked number thing, right?
Nope, I am the easiest person on the fucking internet to find, especially in that family. I've had the same name since the...
But just for the record, you haven't blocked them, yeah?
Nope, I have had the same number and same username on the internet since the invention of the internet. In fact, I use a Google Voice number, so even if I change phones or carriers, my phone number stays the same. It's never changed. Nothing about me has ever changed.
10 years? Yep. That's wild.
Yep, almost 10 years now.
So you don't talk to them at all?
Nope.
That's wild.
They made it very clear that they did not want me around, and I assumed that they're happy with me gone. So, because they've made no effort to reach out, nothing. Like, the closest you can say to me blocking them, I guess, is at one point I did just delete my Facebook. Had nothing to do with them. It was a few years later. I just hate Facebook, and I didn't like what Facebook had become. I wasn't using it, and I just decided I didn't want to have a Facebook anymore, and I deleted my Facebook. But that's it. I'm still on Twitter as the same name. They know I live stream. I was doing it when, I've been live streaming for a very long time, mostly to a crowd of no one, but, I do it for fun. So I was doing it when I lived at that house. So, like, none of my habits... None of my numbers, none of my contact information, nothing about me has changed. They have zero excuse for not getting in touch with me as far as we didn't know how to reach that world doesn't exist where you didn't know how to reach me. It just doesn't.
Well, let me say this right here. Texas, oof. I mean, I've lived there for a couple of years, but nobody's racist in Texas. Okay, guys.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm the strongest person on Twitch, but I've been through some shit. It takes years to get to the point that I'm at.
And it was just so obvious right off the bat, but at the same time, everyone in Texas is like, oh, you should move here. It's great. Like, there is no racism. There is no problem. The electricity works great. It's like,
Yeah, anytime someone tells you there's no racism at insert place here, every place has racism. Doesn't matter how progressive it says it is. It even exists. Like, my older brother lives in Seattle. I've been there several times. I went to his wedding. I even lived there at one point because I liked it so much after going to his wedding. And then, shit happened during the birth of my second child, and we had to move back. It's a lot of lore here. I've been through some shit. But anyway, even somehow... in Seattle, one of the most progressive cities of the fucking country, I managed to find a racist redneck bar completely by accident. I was like, this kind of feels like home. I was like, oh, shit. This feels a little too much like home. I was like,
that's something we'll definitely disagree on, but hopefully not too strong. This idea that... I've lived in California, Oregon. I currently live in Washington, right? And...
yeah.
I'm just not going to beat around the bush because we have a little rapport. Y'all be coping when you can't see the racism on your own side. I mean, yeah. See, I didn't want to beat around the bush, so I said it. Hopefully,
yeah, no, just say it. Yeah, that's fine.
But it's true. Like, I don't think you are a good example of this, for the record.
Thanks for popping in the stream.
But I meet people on the left.
This is what I do.
Like, I remember
Twitter debates and
gaming.
gaming.
The term Portland nice.
I've seen Portlandia.
Okay, so I moved to Oregon. I'm living in a home. I have friends down the street. It's like a nice little old lady and her husband. We do gardening together for 4 years. You would assume, based on how she talks, right, that she's definitely not racist. Like, love for everyone, healing. She's into Reiki. She hates the Republicans. She hates Trump.
Yeah.
Blah 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 blah
Yeah,
blah
I've met
blah
those
blah
people.
blah. Right? And then one day she says this off-colored comment about these black kids playing across the street. And then her husband gives a speech about how one time he educated a group of black kids about how they should never use the N-word. But instead of saying the N-word, like I am, he said
He
the
he said the
actual
actual
word,
word. Yeah.
and then said it like multiple times as an example of how he was so great at telling other people. And like, they couldn't even see it. So Portland Nice refers to like the very progressive anti-racist people that keep doing stuff until, like, for example, right, like one of my neighbors, we were having a conversation, right? I listened to a robust group of political talk people, let's say, to keep it brutish, because my brain's kind of melting with brain
Yeah.
power right now.
Yeah,
It's late,
I've got my rotation of people I go through as well.
but so I'm talking to these people. I happen to mention that
Oh
I was
God, you
listening
are a
to the
trooper,
Daily
man. I
Wire,
didn't think my content would be your kind of
and
thing.
all of a sudden they're like, "Oh,
You're
we
very
hate
gaming
Ben
focused. I'm
Shapiro."
more
I'm like,
personality
"Ah," and they're
focused
like,
with
"We can't believe
gameplay
you
just in
like
the
him." I'm
background.
like, "Ah," like, what's happening here? And they're like, "That guy doesn't like gay people." And I'm like, "Well, I mean, he is an Orthodox Jew. I mean, I don't know if he doesn't like
Thanks
them,
for
but
popping in.
if
I
you
do
don't know
these every night.
anything
I don't have a
about
debate every
Orthodox
night, but I always try to cover
Judaism, I
some
mean, they're
kind of
not
content every
exactly
night and play some video
super
games.
progressive on the homophobia. And like, I remember their eyes got so screwed up, right? Because on the one
Don't forget to check
hand,
out the YouTube page and see the content
something
you've
they
missed, and
hate
like and
is
subscribe. I'm trying to
bumping
get
up
partner here.
against this new thing, which is you
Help me
can't.
out.
I mean, this was back in 2020 when not hating Jews was the cool thing to do, right? And so I remember they look at me and they go, "Wait, are you a Jew?" And I'm just like, "Woof."
Oh God.
I mean, these are the people like who literally the entire year I've known them have been talking about how, not being racist is not good enough. You have to be anti-racist, and then they use the hard J. You ever seen Sunny in Philly?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
My my favorite. I mean, they do a
How the
really
hell
good
did he
job
get
of
me when
describing
okay.
some of this
Whatever.
stuff. But you've seen the episode where they burn down the Jewish guy's bar, but not because he's Jewish.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I love
So,
Always Sunny.
dude, there's a great line called the hard J, and it really is a perfect encapsulation. So it's
So
like
much of that show is so well written.
it is, yeah. So it's something like Charlie's like, "Oh, just don't forget he's a Jew, but we don't care about that." And Dennis goes, "Don't say that word." "What word?" "Don't
That
say Jew. It's offensive." "It's not offensive to say Jew, Dennis. I mean, that's just a normal word. He's a Jewish man. He's a man of the Jewish faith.
yeah,
He's a
the
Jew."
Jew is acting as a stand-in for the N-word in that episode.
Well, no, no. So they get to that part, and then Dennis says, "Oh, well, then let's go get this Jew." And they go, "Whoa!
Yeah,
You
yeah,
can't say
exactly.
it like that. You can't say it like that." But that really is like how I felt in that moment, right? Like the moment
They don't know the
pointed at me.
difference. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so I don't know, but to just bring it back, I see a lot of it on the left.
I mean,
And
that's
one
how I
thing
feel about the N word in general. I don't mean the word itself, but the fact that we have to say the N word. That has like doing that and making it so that people have to say the word without saying the word. You've now devoided that word of all context so that it can never be said again. And now people don't understand context because there are a lot of people, a lot of normal people who are just gonna err on the side of caution and go, well, if the N word's offensive and I can't say that word regardless of context, then there should be other words I can't say regardless of context. So that now they're, like context suddenly goes out the window and we're just going, okay, these are the list of words we can't say. And all I think back is to the like like the old George Carlin bit where he's got the list of things you can't say. And that's what we're doing. We're just society's just making a list of stuff you can't say regardless of context. So now people can't properly communicate because context is gone. So you're having to find ways to dance around everything. It's not productive. It doesn't help anybody. I personally am a big fan of context. Context should matter. I'm not saying white people should go around saying the N-word willy-nilly, but if you're like, there's a famous clip, did you ever see it, where Kendrick Lamar brought that white girl up on stage at a concert to like sing with him on the next track. And what he chose as the next track was a word whose chorus is the N-word 20 times in a row, followed by I'm 100%, and then the N-word 20 more times.
Yeah, well, to be fair, if Kendrick Lamar invites you on stage, I think you may in fact have what they call a pass.
She did not. That's why the clip went viral. She's singing with him, and when they got to that part in the song and she started saying the N-word, she started singing the lyrics to the song that he fucking wrote, he stopped the song to call her out on it and tell her that's not okay. And she looks so fucking mortified and confused, like, well, then why the fuck did you bring me up here? You told me we'd be singing a song together, and you chose the song with the most N-words in musical history. It felt like a setup. What are you doing? And that's kind of my point, is like, devoid of all context, like, there is no N-word pass for some people. Like, it just doesn't exist. There is no situation in which you're ever allowed to say it, even when called on stage to sing a song that contains 90% N-word.
Well, I mean, that clearly was a trap. I mean, that ain't fair.
I mean, you should look up that clip. It went viral, and yeah, the internet kind of exploded for a minute, but yeah, it felt like she was just entrapped, and she got so much hate on Twitter. Like, I think she ended up deleting her Twitter. Like, she was getting harassed at school. Like, she I think her parents pulled her out of school because she's like fucking 16. She's a kid. She's a fucking kid, just trying to have fun with an artist that she liked, and the artist himself is like, "Oh no, you're racist for singing my song, bitch."
I wonder.
It's insane.
I wonder in a parallel world, because the only way to know if he was actually trolling is if we could see the alternate universe where she didn't say it and he still riled her for being like, why won't you sing my song, right? So we will never really know if it was a troll.
True.
But I mean, it feels very much like there's another clip I saw where a streamer, black streamer, walked up to this white guy and he says, look into the camera and say the N-word. And the guy says the N-word, and the black streamer is like, well, to be fair, he used the hard R, which was like, why would you do that? But he clearly didn't use a hard R, so you shouldn't either. But I've seen clips like that where it's like, well, what did you expect was gonna, like,
I mean, what that's why context matters. He said say the N-word. He didn't say which version. He didn't give that context. What did you think was going to happen?
He did, though. Well, I can't say what he said, but he said it with an A, not a hard R. And then the guy said it with the hard R after. But I'm saying there are clips where it is just say the
I
A.
thought you meant he literally said say the N-word and was going to see which version of the N-word that this guy picked. But yeah, that's what I thought you were saying.
It should be obvious to everyone that, like, the hard R is just so obviously not kosher. Like, it never. I mean, come on. Like,
I'm not going to say that there's zero context in which you could say it with the hard R. Usually, because I think there was another viral clip of that happening where a kid said it with the hard R, but it was in school. I want to say they were like reading Huckleberry Finn, where it's written in the book with the hard R. He was just reading from the book. They wanted him to read out loud, and like, what, he's supposed to intuitively know to skip this one word when you didn't tell him to? Yeah, like, this is why context matters. Like, you can't, like, I don't think we should just be getting mad at the word's existence. Yeah, it does have historical meaning, but when you devoid it of context by making it sound like it's this evil word with magical powers, well, now you've like lost all of the historical context because no one ever learns it. They just learn word bad and not know why.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. before my brain rugs, I mean, I probably could stay up all night, but my brain power will decrease.
Yeah. I got about 10 minutes left on my stream. I'm not doing another, because I didn't post our last conversation on Twitter because I was trying to find a way to digest it, and I did not realize me and you had gone back and forth as long as we had. And I'm like, do I really want to put? It was 5 hours. It was five fucking hours. That was just our portion of the stream. I was like, this was a 5-hour long conversation. How the fuck do I even digest this? So I got to stick to my schedule.
I don't know if 10 minutes will do it, but you wanted to fire off some crypto questions. I mean, if you want.
Well, I mean, we can go a little bit over. I am in a Fortnite match right now. I'm just casually playing Fortnite in the background here. But, God, I can't even remember specifically. My brain's also melting. It has been a long day. Halloween is also my daughter's birthday, so it has been a very full day for me between work and then getting off work and all of her birthday parties. She has a coolest birthday ever. All her birthday parties are costume parties that end with trick-or-treating. It's just perfect kid birthday. All your friends get to dress up. You get to take all your friends guaranteed with you trick-or-treating every year. It's never just, oh, they can't go because they're doing... Nope, it's my birthday. Well,
if you got them, fire them off.
So I'm trying to remember what some of them were. God, how much health does this guy have? There we go. Okay. Jesus.
I think the most important is always when Moon, when Lambo. I don't know if you get the reference.
Okay, so I guess one of the ones that I'll go to then is when browsing those Twitter Spaces, some of the most brain rot shit I saw, and it seemed to just be overtaking those Twitter Spaces, was Twitter Spaces are just, it seemed like they were predominantly crypto and NFT based. Even when I went into ones where I thought they were arguing about movies because it was labeled movies, I would join the Twitter space and they're arguing about movie NFTs. Like it seemed like it was all NFT and crypto talk. And I didn't see a lot of consistency between them. It almost seemed as if like most of them didn't even know what they were talking about.
They don't. They never do. I mean, there's two things.
We're going to get rich and this is how.
Twitter is the heart of crypto, right? Like if you're on Twitter,
I have noticed.
You're probably going to make better plays than somebody who's not on Twitter, right? So that's first. Spaces came around when crypto was reaching its peak in 2021, so that's another reason why it's so saturated. Like that was the first real user base because people don't want to. When they debate blockchain, crypto tokens, pricing, whatever, they don't want to type out threads to debate it. They want to debate it, right? So the spaces came really naturally.
Yeah.
The other thing is that it's extremely tribal. Like crypto is tribalistic to the max. Like if you can trigger, like there's an old joke. How do you get 100 people in your Twitter space? Change the title to "Insert coin as a scam. Prove me wrong."
That's not true. I did that as a test because I've heard the
meme. You put in Daddy Tate. I saw that space.
Yeah, I was like, well, let's see if I can bait some people here because I mean, maybe it was too obvious as bait, but yeah, I was like, well, we'll do. And Andrew Tate's coin was already trending, so I picked the trending coin and was like, let's tell them it's a scam and let's see what they say. And no one joined.
I don't even think he made that coin. I think they just sent him like 5% of the suppliers or some ad. I don't think he was the creator. Or
yeah, but I wonder how many people know that. And that was the point of the space, was to see like how many people know this and are gonna join. And
probably all of them. I mean, remember, blockchains are public ledgers, so I mean, if you have even the most basic, like the most.
Well, what I was saying is most of those Twitter spaces I joined where people were talking about crypto and stuff, I know blockchains are public ledgers. Like I get the idea of a blockchain. The point I was making was the people in their spaces didn't. I don't think any of them would even know how to access a public ledger. Well, more or less know what's on it.
If you had even the most rudimentary of skills, the first thing you do when considering buying a token, one of the first, is you just look at the holder count, right? So like you would never buy a token where one guy owns 85% of the total supply. That would make no sense.
Right, because then he can rug pull it from you. I mean, it's...
Well, they can rug pull it with you even if they...
Seems obvious. But the chances of that happening when one guy owns 85% as opposed to there being a diversity and a bunch of other holders, well, your chances of getting rug pulled just going by the numbers seem lessened.
What do you think a rug pull is? That's a good question. That's a good place to start. Like, where do you think the term rug pull comes from?
So unless CoffeeZilla has not been doing his research, because I watch him too. A bunch of guys make a token, or a guy or a bunch of guys make a token. They hype it up among their fan base to inflate the value, and then they're the majority, holders, and then they pull out, taking the money with them and leaving everyone else with what's left.
Okay, so I see the confusion. You're conflating a pump and dump and a rug pull. Let me explain the difference.
Okay.
When you sell a tremendous amount of the supply...
And to be fair, that's kind of the way that CoffeeZilla explains them. He tends to interchange the two.
Yeah, rug pull is kind of a term that people use interchangeably. We in crypto, basically, when we say it got rugged, what we really mean is everybody who invested in it is fucked. But the minutia of how they got fucked is important, because the word rug pull comes from a specific place, right? So if you sell a massive supply of anything, gold, a crypto token, PSA 10 Charizard 2016 Evolutions set, right? You're going to tank the price. Now, if you were the one holding a majority supply, getting everyone to buy higher than you, and then you just dumped in one candlestick, okay, you could say I was rugged, but technically, rug pulling is where it doesn't matter how much of the supply you have, but you are the provider of the liquidity on the DEX where the token has the majority of its volume, right? So there's two terms you need to know here. There's SEX and DEX. SEX is CEX, centralized exchange.
I do love me some SEX.
and then there's DEX, which is decentralized exchange, right? The difference is simple. Binance is a centralized exchange. You send your crypto to an address they control, you trade on paper, and then one day you withdraw what you've in theory earned or have left after losing, and they send whatever you have back to your address. The risk is obvious. If they steal your money, run off into the sun, they're never sending you back anything regardless of what your account says you own. Right? A decentralized exchange is when you swap. Instead of putting in a buy order or a sell order, granted you could do that on a DEX too, but it's when you're literally swapping tokens from your address through a smart contract for another token. Who are you swapping from becomes the question. Well, you're swapping from what's called a liquidity pool. It's usually a pool of a valuable asset like Solana, Ethereum, whatever, right? US dollars, something that has decent value against the meme coin itself. So what the rug pull really comes from is when the guy literally just pulls out the liquidity of the valuable token paired with the meme token, and now there is no pool of money for you to exchange your token. So it's one is your token became valueless, the other one is more, there is no way to even trade what you own. Because the pool of liquidity on the DEX, really on chain, but we'll just keep it simple, on the DEX no longer has any funds. It literally pulls the rug out from under you. Now this will happen in a variety of ways, right? So like someone will say, oh, look, I just deposited $1 million worth of Ethereum into the liquidity pool with 10% of the supply of this meme token, which you all love. So now there's $1 million in liquidity backing the value of this asset. People respond, well, they go, amazing. Buy. Right? So they're just putting in more of their valuable asset, like Ethereum, and they're getting more of the meme token out of the pool. And then a guy goes, thanks. You all put in your ETH, took out this meme. I just pulled out all the ETH you put in plus my original million. There is no place to swap your token, and I just made a bunch of money. That's where it's coming from. Pull the rug out.
That's what CoffeeZilla kind of explains what most is. I think he explained the Logan Paul one very similarly.
To be honest. Most are pump and dumps. That's really the majority of when people lose money in crypto, right? So what happens is everyone can see that some guy holds a giant percentage of the supply. Scammers have learned to get more savvy. So what they do is they have hundreds of addresses that all contain a very small percent of the supply, 0.1%, but they have 0.1%, but they have 500 addresses. So they do have 50% of the supply, but it's just so scattered across the addresses that unless you're good at picking up on that, you're just going to assume that these are unique buyers, right? There are already sites and programs that let you kind of de-engineer the trades. So sometimes you can see, well, the guy sent money from one address to 500 other addresses, so now we know it's really just him bundled. But that actually still is the majority. It's people buying new coin. I mean, I'll be honest, I've lost money that way for sure. People buy a bundled stack and then they do the same thing. One giant sell-off, one candlestick. You're never going to recover. Well, that's put an asterisk. Most projects will never recover from a 50% supply sell-off, right? It's the same for anything. Gold, NFTs, Pokemon cards, stocks, doesn't matter. 50% goes, your price is just plummeting. So you didn't get rugged, but what you own is now valueless versus I can't even trade what I have because there's no place to even swap for it. Right?
Okay.
So the decentralized distinction is important.
Yeah, I think I get the difference. End result being roughly similar to you lost a lot of money. But
well, that's definitely the similar part. Yeah.
So for the education of my audience or anyone who may stumble, because we are keeping this conversation more digestible so I can make it into a video. Anyone who stumbles across this video as you're someone who clearly knows a lot more about crypto than myself, because I learned most of it from CoffeeZilla and just like never participated in crypto, just like sitting back on the sidelines watching. Let's say right now you had $100,000 of disposable income. Someone gave you $100,000 and said, here's $100,000, but you have to invest it in crypto. And you had to try to turn it into $1 million. You had to try to become a crypto millionaire with $100,000. What do you do? How do you navigate that?
I mean, well, you're really asking me in a way, what should I invest in? Well, I mean, if I knew the answers to these questions,
how do you navigate it? As in, how do you know? Not like I'm not asking you like specifically give me the name of a coin, but more how would you evaluate coins and the market to decide what to invest in or which one to pick?
Okay, so there's a lot of material there. I mean, one thing to point out is you asked two blockchain bros, crypto bros, how do you do that? You asked two crypto bros the question you just asked me, you're going to get 7 answers, but here's mine. Right? One.
Yeah. This is you personally. This is your $100,000. You're given one chance to become a millionaire. Given the knowledge you have, how would you personally navigate it? What would you do?
So you need to understand. It's
kind of the fun question that people have with the lottery. Though, what would you do if you win? Kind of the crypto version of that.
I mean, one thing to note is that crypto is an attention economy with some exceptions. So let me break a few things apart real quick. Bitcoin bros love to say Bitcoin, not crypto. They're right in a lot of ways because crypto is this weird, stupid word that, ironically enough, is neither in the name of any of the tens of the thousands of tokens or projects that exist for the most part. Like, whoever made up the term cryptocurrency never owned any and certainly never used a blockchain in any way, right?
Yeah.
Notice that literally every token has no mention of crypto or currency. But that being said, if you want to put Bitcoin in its own category, it's really important because if you're talking about taking $1 million and putting it on a 30-year time scale, assuming Bitcoin doesn't go to zero, there's a great line. If Bitcoin doesn't go to zero, it's going to $1 million, right? So it's like you could play the nuts, pick the safest choice. Yeah, there are other.
Okay, let's.
Hold on.
I know the safest choice exists, but that's boring. So I'll caveat the question a little bit. You've got 1 year.
Well,
it
might not be the safest choice, is my point, but I think it's worth splitting apart from everything else.
Yeah, but for the sake of the question, just to stick with the general theme. Let's say you were given $100,000, you had to turn it into $1 million in crypto, and you had to do it within 1 calendar year.
Oh boy.
There you go.
Okay.
We'll put a time limit on it. We'll caveat it so you can't be like, well, I just put it in this option and wait, and eventually I'll get there. This just because everyone
wouldn't get there, but
because normies watching media and watching just passerbys, crypto is often like seen as a get rich quick scheme.
Well, see, but so hold on. This is why I brought up what I was bringing up. Throw the word crypto out of your lexicon. It's a meaningless word. In fact, number one thing I ask people when they, not that we're having a debate, but when people debate quote unquote crypto with me, the first question I ask them, which always stumps them, is there a particular blockchain, coin, or token that you have a bone to pick with? And then they can't name one because they just use this umbrella term for 10,000 things that they've never even looked at. So just throw that word out of the lexicon. Now, going back to the question, number one, you would make what you call an alpha Twitter. Okay, you're going to have a Twitter, brand new. The only purpose of that Twitter is to follow the attention of the economy in crypto. You're going to follow every influencer. You're going to follow every alpha caller. You're going to follow people that seem to have insightful takes. You need to build a Twitter specifically designed so that when the newest flashy, when the newest flashiest thing comes up,
I'm assuming it, train that algorithm kind of deal.
Yeah,
so that you're being fed what you need. Yeah.
Again, this is an attention economy. Right? What people like. Here's kind of what attention economy means in a nutshell. If we all agree that Bitcoin's going to 250, then we're all going to buy it until it goes there because we all think it's going there. So any purchase below that would be a profit in the future. That's how everything works. If we all agree that Bored Ape Yacht Club is
to
incredible,
the moon.
right? If we all agree at $100 start that these stupid monkeys are going to hundreds of thousands, what that translates to is we're just going to keep buying them until they're hundreds of thousands.
Yeah, those apes with diamond hands, man, they're going to the moon.
Well, now they're down quite a bit. But, you know that I don't know if this will translate to you. You know, Pudgy Penguins actually flipped Bored Apes recently.
I have not looked at Bored Apes in a while.
So what that really means is a project. Pudgy Penguins is the complete opposite. No VC money, no real utility at the start, no promises, no nothing. Just people who are vibing with penguins. They've officially flipped Bored Apes. It's kind of insane, like genuinely insane to watch Bored Apes go down from $300,000 minimum to under, I think they're like 30 grand right now, and penguins are pushing up 32. Again, the attention eventually beat out the VC money, right? So number one, you design your alpha Twitter. It's got to tell you stuff that other people are screaming 10 days later, right? You need to see the stuff that the big guys are saying, oh, this will, blah, 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 go to the moon. But you need to see those things day one, not day 100, right? So that's number one, first thing. Number two is you have to.
Yeah, it's a space where information is currency. The more you know, the sooner, the better you are.
Yeah, but also understanding where the attention is, right? The number one thing I'm saying is we're all screaming this is going to blank. That all that translates to is we're not going to stop buying it till it is blank, right? And that is a predictive model because then you know what people are going to do based on their attention. So number two though is you need to have some rudimentary understanding of what, let's say, a proof of work, specifically Bitcoin blockchain, is to then be able to figure out the various iterations that have come from it and how they're different and why it matters. Because here's the problem. Do you remember that project, BitConnect?
Oh, God, I remember that guy, yeah.
You know why he scammed so many people?
Oh, he was very charismatic.
No, it's because they don't know how any blockchain functions, so they can't.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same mentality that goes behind why cult leaders are able to do what they're able to do. The ignorant are easy to manipulate if you're charismatic.
Sure, but I mean, just from the perspective of the investor, you have to actually understand. If you have the 100 grand you're investing it, you have to know what is just clearly not anything. What is complete vaporware? Just sometimes you want vaporware, but you have to know what it is. You're never going to know that unless you can actually, at the very least, use a block explorer without having your head hurt, right? Which really is just reading the ledger at this point. But you need some rudimentary understanding. The inability to for people to admit they don't know something. Well, in video games, it makes your screen say game over, and in blockchain, it makes your money go to zero.
And
right?
that is
So,
game over.
so I'll give you some easy examples. Okay, you have your address, right? A wallet is an application, and a wallet can create infinite addresses, right? So you have your address. It's, for lack of a more elaborate phrase, where your crypto's at, right? You got, let's say, 100 Ethereum in that address, whatever, right? 33 ETH, I guess, if it's 100 grand, roughly
Yeah.
3340 ETH, and you see a new project. Okay, you think it can go to the moon, but you're not sure if it's going to go to the moon or if it's in fact a actual scam, right? You don't know if, when you quote mint one of these new NFTs, if you're going to get the NFT and watch it go to the moon, or if all of the money from your address is going to get drained. Now, why don't you know this? Well, here's why. You don't read Solidity, which is the programming language that the Ethereum blockchain is written in. Now, am I suggesting you should have to learn Solidity? No. Here's what I'm suggesting. If you understand blockchain technology on a rudimentary level, you would just take the amount of Ethereum that's needed to mint this new project, we'll just say 0.1 ETH, you would transfer it to a new address, you would mint from that address, and if that smart contract you just interacted with turned out to be a nefarious one that's going to drain your funds, okay, well, you won't get drained because you didn't use the address with your hoard of money to sign that interaction. You used a brand new address. So you gave this nefarious smart contract permission. Wait, let me finish. You gave the nefarious smart contract permission to withdraw funds from the new address you created. Well, the amount of money in the new address was just enough to mint it anyway. My point is, people don't even know that interacting with a contract with address A does not give that contract access to address B, C, D, E, F, or G. And so, as something as simple as just making a new address and minting is lost, and oh, look, there you go. People lose 40 ETH in a single click. Real example, Fuckrender, an artist, earned 100 Ethereum in like less than 3 months. And because he doesn't understand what I just said, clicked one wrong button, interacted with a nefarious contract, all of his money gone. All he had to do was send a couple $100 to a new address anyway. Would have taken 1 second and no knowledge. No programming skills required, but it would have required rudimentary knowledge. Sorry, go ahead.
So what I was getting at with the whole exercise in itself is, because you mentioned risk and losing money, and you harped on that for a minute, is you're given $100,000 to play around in crypto. The idea behind the experiment is, if I take away the risk, the fear of losing your money, and now you've got someone else's $100,000 to play with, do you approach it differently?
No, I mean no, of course not. You have to. So there's a saying I used to say: "There's no point in being great at making money in crypto if you're going to lose it all with a single click later." Right? It doesn't matter. You can make $1 million in 5 minutes, but if you're the kind of person who then,
you just described the Boogie 2988 situation.
I haven't looked into that, but again,
he made a video saying that he was a crypto millionaire, talking about how he invested his crypto and took some advice from a friend, and it ballooned, and he was basically just bragging about how much money he had. And the next day, literally uploaded a video saying, I invested in the wrong space. It's all gone. Like the very next day, he was like, I have lost my life savings. I need your help, guys. Basically doing exactly what you just described, where he clicked on a thing, started playing around with it. He thought he had millions. And then now not only is that gone, but the money you put in gone too. So now it's a real loss.
Yeah, I mean, the main takeaway from point number 2 is that blockchain technology and tokens and on-chain tokens and coins are not magic beans, and neither is the technology. If people don't want to, I mean, it would be like playing World of Warcraft and not using ASDW because just your mouse and no keyboard is fine. I'll just click my spells. It's obviously not fun, right? It's clearly just gonna get you killed in every battleground you join. So yeah, those are the two first things. I mean, I'd build my alpha Twitter. Obviously, I have one that goes without saying. And then number 2, I'd learn how it all works, and then I'd sit there and
So the
I'd
so the
basically
so the
make.
process would be the same regardless of the risk, which would be build the alpha Twitter, going step by step here. Build the alpha Twitter so you've got that constant feed of information. Do your research, and then act. Like if you had to boil it down to the 3 most basic steps.
I mean, number 3 is just, yeah. I mean, you're in a casino. Try to play the odds and be smart. I mean, to be fair though, because you asked me the example in which I have 100 grand. The truth is, if you're really good at the first part, the alpha Twitter, it's very likely you don't need to invest anything. Like, case in point, I made over $100,000 in an airdrop from a Web3 video game just playing it. So I mean, there you go.
Explain that one. I feel like people are going to want to know how that happened.
Sure. So I played Gods Unchained. It's basically Hearthstone, but with one caveat. So you know how Hearthstone works, right?
Oh yeah. I play Hearthstone, Marvel Snap. Yeah, I've played those.
So imagine Hearthstone with two distinctions. In Hearthstone, you get 1 mana per turn. In Gods Unchained, you get 1 mana per turn till turn 5. Your 6th mana is 2 turns. Your 7th mana is 3 turns. Your 8th mana is 4 turns, so on like that, right? But it's the same
Gotcha.
mana wheel. The other thing is they have what's called a faith sideboard. So in in Hearthstone, you can run like a rush deck, and you bring them down to 1 life, but then they like flame strike your whole board, and now even though they're just barely hanging on, you don't have any momentum to finish them off, right?
Right.
But in
launch
Gods,
the nuke.
right, in Gods, whenever you do things well, their creature dies, yours doesn't. You hit them, they don't stop it. You gain what's called faith, and then there's a sideboard that both players can access. You can buy those cards with faith. And so like now you earn enough faith in your rush, so even though they nuked your board, you can like just afford the card to deal 2 direct damage and finish them off, kind of thing. So I played that game. I just treated it like any other game, right? It's online trading card games, so you buy packs, you open it up, you get cards. Obviously, this is blockchain, so I can just trade or sell my cards however the hell I please, right? Well, the company that was making Gods Unchained is called Immutable X. I think they just got a Wells notice from the SEC, which is nuts. But the developer of this game and this layer 2, it's a layer 2 to Ethereum, right? His name is Chris Clay Plays. He was the CEO or something of the Magic the Gathering online arena for a couple of years, right? So he's fairly in it, right? So Immutable X, layer 2 solution to Ethereum. The short version is it's just a place to trade cards without getting into the blockchain details, right? And so I'm buying packs and I'm selling cards from the packs and I'm winning free packs because part of the gimmick is like the better you do on the weekend, the more free packs that you'd have to pay money for that you get.
Yeah.
And all of this is leading up to I didn't even know this was happening at the time, which was really sad because I could have made millions if I did. But what you were doing when you bought and sold cards was earning points towards the IMX airdrop. Okay, if you don't know what an airdrop in crypto is, right? It's just when a token for a system is finally released, and if it's a good airdrop, who gets how many tokens will depend on who used that system and how much they used it before there was any incentive. So Uniswap has Unitoken, right? How much Unitoken you got was based on how much you used Uniswap before they ever created their token. And this goes down the list for many crypto projects, right? Bored Ape has their own token that was given away as an airdrop for how many monkeys you had, right? So these airdrops are basically just gifts of tokens to the entire community based on how much they participated, and the value is just sort of created by the community. Usually there's some kind of liquidity pool created by the dev team, and the dev team usually does get tokens of their own. But if it's a really great airdrop, they're also in the boat of how much they get is based on how much they used it, which if you're the developer of something like Uniswap, you probably used it quite a lot anyway, right?
Yeah.
So I'm earning points for this thing. I have no idea like how much it'll be. I'm not even aware at some point it's happening. Then, as it turns out, because this is an Australian company, turns out Gary Gensler, that's just a euphemism for the SEC, but Gary Gensler basically tells the Australian company, yo, you can't be dropping Americans this IMX token. If you do that, or if you let Immutable X do that, we're going to demand that your government, meaning the Australian government, come at them hard. So Immutable X said, what if we do this? What if we sell off the IMX tokens that Americans will receive for USDC on chain, and then give them the USDC instead? Does that work? And SEC said, yeah, that works. So people like me had two options. Option one was on the day of the release, aka airdrop, do you want all of your IMX tokens to be sold off immediately? Or do you want to sell them off over the course of the next 6 weeks at the best prices we can get? I chose the second option, and it was about 98K in IMX tokens converted to USDC, plus about $26,000 in the games token, which was unsurprisingly called the Gods token. Right.
Okay.
So between the two of those, you're talking about like 126-ish grand. But the important part is, I was just basically playing Hearthstone. I was buying packs
you were just enjoying
that
the
I would have
game.
bought anyway.
Yeah, which I guess brings me to my next question, and I'll probably like leave it on this. But given the kind of people who watch my channel and may stumble across it here, given my audience, small as it may be at the time, trying to get that bigger. So like and subscribe, guys. But given that it's a very very gaming focused channel as much as it is about myself. I feel like people would want to know, because you said that like you didn't even realize you were earning these tokens, you were just playing a game. If you were to seek this out, how would you know which games you could play that have the potential to, pay you for playing them in the way that you made money here?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I mean, so you wouldn't really know. I would say two things. One, I'll say a couple things. Most Web3 games are total garbage. If you find one that you like, then play it for what it is, a video game. If they happen to drop a token later, well, it'll be great for you because you were playing it nonstop because you loved it. Now, I would say the people that really get it, meaning the people that'll drop you a token later that'll make you very happy, will be the people who don't need to flex about their future airdrop. Keep grinding, guys. The future airdrop will be worth millions.
So step one would be you would have to play or look for a Web3 game. Like that would be the key word that like, because all right, so we're going on the assumption that like somebody watching my channel is here for the gaming content or here for some of my conversational stuff, and they don't know anything about Web3. They don't know anything about crypto. They don't, or I'm sorry, trying to delete that from the lexicon, but that's what most people are going to call it. So force of habit.
They do call it that. They do.
but let's just say that they don't know anything about any of this stuff. But they heard that guy I was talking to mention that he made $100,000 playing a video game, and they want to know, well, what video games pay? How do I find a game that I could make the money on? What do I look for?
Well, so what I'm saying is you don't know in essence. And what makes it worse is if you see a game in Web3. I mean, let me break hold on. Let me take a step back. All a Web3 game is a video game that happens to use a blockchain to trade items. That's really all it should be,
Okay.
right? If it looks like a dog shit game blockchain or not, it's a dog shit game. Right. So that's very important. The only reason I played Gods Unchained was that I genuinely enjoyed the gameplay. Like I thought it was a good trading card game. Most games in Web3 are just bad video games. Period, full stop, end of story. Now what I'm saying is if you find a good one, you should play it because you like the game, and odds are that good game developers in blockchain also understand how successful airdrops work. So even though you might never get one, if you did, it would be valuable inherently based on the fact that it's related to the game, which is fun and has value. By contrast, if you see a game that's promoting its future airdrop, but the game looks like total dog shit, well, they're going to fuck up that airdrop, or nobody's going to care about the tokens they're dropping, or it's just
Yeah,
not
you
going to
need
have value.
people playing the game to make sense.
Right. And then there's kind of a sweet middle ground where. So did you see there's a game called Big Time in crypto? You seen that?
That I have not seen.
So it's a dog shit game by any stretch of the imagination, right? Like people are like, wow, it's so well made. Not really. I mean, the stoners in their mom's basement can make better games than this with Unreal Engine 5 if they feel like it. But it also had huge traction, right? Like huge Twitter following, huge social media presence, tons of people hyping it up. So some people basically made the gambit. This game's terrible, but yeah, I might as well play it just in case. And when they
Okay.
airdropped their big time token, I don't even know what the ticker is, time or something, who knows? But when they dropped their big time token, well, like the top 100 grinders of the game were making tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands in that airdrop respectively. Right, so that's three categories. Great game might have an airdrop, but great game devs in blockchain probably understand airdrops pretty great too. Then there's the on the extreme other side, game is total dog shit, but they keep promoting how in the future their token will be worth millions. Probably won't be. And then there's that middle ground where it's like, yeah, I would never play this game for fun, but like everyone's yammering on about it, and so when they drop their token, a whole bunch of morons will just buy it day one because they're gonna get rich or whatever, and so I'm getting those tokens for free, and so before they go to zero, I might as well just sell them right now.
Okay. So the common theme I'm seeing among all these games is that they're Web3 games.
I mean, again, that just means they're a normal video game that lets players trade items and has decided to let more often than not an
like if
Ethereum
someone
layer
were to
two.
try to look it up and say, well, what games, new games coming out, is there a way to tell? And the common thread I've heard you mention a few times is Web3, which I know most of the people watching that may stumble across the channel have no idea what that is. But if we're just going off a keyword, they would go, okay, so a Web3 game is a game that could possibly pay. Now I need to find games that have Web3 in them, and go from there.
You could call it a ton of blockchain game, whatever. But let me just make the easiest example ever. You've played Hearthstone. I've played Hearthstone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's say tomorrow they make every single one of their cards an NFT, and if you attach an address, like a wallet address to it, then they'll deposit those NFTs to your address, and then you can trade those cards. Did Hearthstone become a Web3 game, or is it just a video game that uses a blockchain to trade?
I wouldn't say Web3. Yeah.
No, it's the second. It's just a video game that lets you trade your items, but the way that they allow trade to happen is through a blockchain, whether it's Solana, Cardano, Tron, fucking Ethereum.
So basically, pick, right? What they would have to look for is the way stuff's traded. Because like prime example, CS:GO is a game that has a pretty healthy skin trading market where people trade they trade their knife skins or whatever. but they're not doing it through a blockchain. They're not doing, like you're not getting any Ethereum, any kind of coin off this. It's all
you're
just
getting Steam dollars, which you can't redeem for actual dollars. But
well, not necessarily. It depends on the market. Like there are, like there's whole sites where it's just you're just doing it with PayPal. Like it's just give me money, I'll give you the thing.
That works though, right? Like gamers refuse to accept blockchains to trade items, and instead they say, well, this black market, what I'm not technically allowed to use and violates the terms of service, solves the problem anyway, so why do I need a blockchain?
The irony is not lost on me.
I mean, it's unfortunately an internal issue to gaming that has to be solved, because the real problem is gamers don't think you should trade items, which seems insane to me.
They do, but they just when it's done from within the game, like okay, like stuff like World of Warcraft, Diablo, like even dating all the way back to like Diablo 2 back in the day, which I played religiously. Those markets have always existed. The developers have always known they've existed. And as long as they don't disrupt the game too much, they kind of just leave them alone and let them exist. So players have always wanted to trade items. I remember, you could go into, they post these fucking links in chat. And the in-game chat, like we've all seen the gold farmers in World of Warcraft. You've seen, there were people constantly like, hey, go here, you can buy a Stone of Jordan for fucking Diablo 2. So that's always happened. But Diablo 3 comes out and decides to capitalize on that. I don't know if you're familiar with how Diablo 3 launched, but it launched with a real money auction house in the game. It was basically Blizzard's attempt to cut out the middleman, and they were like, okay, you guys like trading items and buying them from these third-party sites, and we don't see a dime of that. So we're going to put an auction house in the game that uses real-world dollars instead of in-game currency. So now you can farm for items, post them directly in the game, and if someone buys them, we'll take 10% of that sale and put the rest directly in your wallet however you want it. You want it in your Steam wallet, we put it in your Steam wallet. You want it in your Blizzard app, you want it in the Blizzard launcher, we put it in the Blizzard launcher. You want it, we'll mail you a check. Like, how do you want it? Everyone hated it out of existence. They ended up taking it out of the game. It's almost like it's a dirty little secret. Like they like doing it like a guilty pleasure type thing, but they don't want it in their face. They don't want people to know that they do it. They want the plausible deniability. But once it was in the game, there was no more plausible deniability. If they saw someone with a near perfect build in Diablo 3, I remember it happening. Everyone hounds this guy and accuses him and memes on him for spending money. Oh, look, someone paid $600 to get, yeah, like they start making fun of them. They want to do it, but they want to do it in secret. They don't want it. They don't want the world to know that yes, I paid for this item. I paid to win. I traded for this. I feel like that's probably the same thing here. Like if it's in their face and everyone knows they did it, then they wouldn't want to.
I mean, I might. I mean, we don't have time for it, but I would push back a little bit. I think gamers are insane. I think that the copium on
that's the audience you're talking to here. I'm
let me tell you the copium on the owning your own asset thing. Did you know that Hearthstone actually changed what it was described as because it couldn't justify the fact that you didn't own your own cards?
Yes, they did the same thing with Warcraft 3, and there was a big uproar about it with how items and specifically like stuff you created in Warcraft 3. They did a remake of Warcraft 3, and people who made their own maps or made mods, they had to reword the writing to make sure you knew that you don't own this thing you made.
I'm literally saying they changed it from trading card game to collectible card game because you couldn't trade.
True.
Right, so but I don't know. I mean, just tying it all together, the term blockchain game, Web3 game, I mean, it's just a buzzword. Any game that lets you trade your assets through the medium of any blockchain that game pleases to use is what I would call, a Web3 game, right? I mean,
okay. That's simple enough. That's what I was trying to do. I was trying to keep it simple and digestible for anyone who may stumble across the video.
But here's why it matters. Seems simple enough. Here's why it matters, okay? if Diablo has an auction house and it's internal, then it's stuck and isolated. But the interesting thing about Gods Unchained or any quote unquote Web3 game is that the interconnectivity between, and I'm not talking about taking items across games, just to clarify, but I don't have to, like, okay, let me make this really simple. If you made an NFT right now, just of anything you want, it doesn't matter what it is, it's already on OpenSea's website. It's already got your profile up there. It's got your address up there. You might have a patron that's not even in the video game you're selling the item. He might just be buying that item because he thinks it's going to moon in the world of crypto later. He has no association with the game. Right. All games operating under the same blockchain immediately have not inter-game commerce, but a shared marketplace upon where everyone goes. So maybe I sell all my Diablo assets and make $2,500, and I just buy new assets in some other game that's already plugged and play. Versus I cash it out from Blizzard, I put it in my bank, then I deposit it from my bank to some other platform where I then buy the, it's already there. Every single blockchain game that's ever existed is already on a marketplace with all the other ones.
Okay.
Granted, like some exceptions, right? Obviously, Solana items are not on the Ethereum.
Yeah, so I'm probably a rare gamer when you talked about gamers, because I am that one. Like you mentioned the Diablo 3 auction house, you mentioned all of this stuff. That's I am the one. I have videos on my channel where I am trying to point out the bad in these practices and how they're bad for, like, I'm someone who cares about the games and keeping the integrity of the game. So when I see something like, I'm going to go to the one that they all love to hate me for bringing up, but fuck you guys, I'm right. And that's Warframe. That game is absolutely ruined by its monetization. I have over 500 hours in Warframe, and you can log in and spend a bunch of money and instantly be where I would have been after 100 hours of grinding. And so trying to explain to people that this is bad. So I'm the guy who's like, even though I saw the potential in the Diablo 3 auction house, like I was one of those guys at the time who's like, this shouldn't be here. This is going to affect the way people play the game. This is going to change the game. It's going to ruin the economy. It's going to ruin basically the nature of the game itself. So it shouldn't be here. And I'm trying to tell people that, like, the game itself is more important than, like, the stuff that you can spend money on. Because I'm someone who's very sick of the modern day mentality when it comes to gaming, where people log in, and even if they've spent $70 on the game, I ain't even talking about a free game like Fortnite. Now, let's just say it's a $70 game, full price game, and then they log in and the first thing they go is, what else can I spend my money on? Let me go to the game shop. That's bad. You should be angry at that, not looking for it. That you shouldn't pay $70 for a thing that to give you, like, you shouldn't pay $70 to get access to a storefront. Like, this is a video game with a cover charge.
So the only thing I'd add is buying items from the game dev is a terrible idea always. Buying items from other players, it's the only way to let them actually say they own their own stuff. I would point out too that,
yeah. So I harp on ownership a lot.
I would point out, though, seriously, in a real way, that the most successful games, as it pertained to their economies, were quote unquote unfair games when it came to power and who owned it, but extremely fair when it came to the ability to do what you wanted with your stuff. Case in point, in 2002, after the item patch upgrade for Ultima Online, the amount of golden items traded through eBay, which, as you might imagine, has no guarantee of actually getting your item right, the amount of items in gold traded through eBay was so high that the economy of Ultima Online exceeded the GDP of the Ukraine. Ultima was the 47th richest country on Earth. Right? Ultima was a game where if you wanted fairness, if you wanted not to have your head lopped off by some other player on your first day, well, you're in the wrong game. But if you wanted a game where you could actually say, my stuff is my own and I can do with it as I please, well, there you go. The problem is when you're buying it from the devs, not from the other players.
Yes, I'm someone who has like tried to constantly because I have this argument all the time with people. Like my big one was Overwatch. I had an argument with a guy on my stream multiple times because I hate Overwatch 2. And the reason I go to that one is because I didn't ask for Overwatch 2. I didn't pay for Overwatch 2. I don't like Overwatch 2. I paid for Overwatch 1. I paid $40 for that game. And then magically one day they updated the game and it was now Overwatch 2, a free-to-play game, and Overwatch 1 no longer existed. And I had to argue with this guy over and over again to remind him that you don't own anything you're buying when you buy a digital video game. They all say it outright. You are buying a license to play the thing. They can revoke that license. They can take it away. You haven't owned a video game. Like this idea of ownership, if that's something you're after, then you have to buy a physical copy of the game where it doesn't require a download, because obviously if you buy a physical copy and it requires a download to play, well, they can revoke that too. So for those people who, it sounds like what you're telling me, for those people who do care about ownership, that playing a game where people are trading on a blockchain as opposed to like a Diablo auction house where they're just doing it all through Blizzard in the game, they do actually own the thing.
Well, with one caveat. I mean, I don't want to be the super crypto bro, so I have to push back on myself. I mean, any game can just bar your IP. They could bar the address that has the NFTs, which represent said items in game. The developer of a game will always have the ability to ban the player from accessing their stuff and even accessing the secondary sale recipient from that stuff. But
okay.
One thing to point out is that what are the chances a blockchain dev is going to enact the principle of I'm going to ban you because I don't like you in this decentralized Wild West, anything goes landscape? I mean, it's a lot lower. Take, for example, give me just 1 minute here. So, I don't know if you remember the Rallo-Zek incident on EverQuest, but basically what it amounted to was there was a guild, somebody pissed off their leader.
Okay.
The guild leader said KOS this guy for a solid week till he loses all of his stuff. On day 6, the guy had like a mental break, reached out to the EverQuest team. The EverQuest team disbanded the guild and gave the guy his stuff back. This is debatably the end of EverQuest, right? The breaking of this guild on Rallo-Zek's server was debatably the beginning of the fall, because what purpose does anything have in a world where the gods can just come down and say no, right? So to do that in a blockchain game would be to violate any premise of representing decentralization. There are some exceptions.
Goes against the point of what it's supposed to be.
Yeah, but there's some exceptions, but yeah, I mean, I just don't want to be the crypto bro who's like, yeah, and when your video game items are on blockchain, like, no one can stop you and you're always gonna, like, that's not true. The game could just collapse tomorrow and the servers that run it could just be turned off. Like, you could buy items in any game. The game might not exist in a month.
Yeah, I think that confusion is why some people see scams where there aren't scams, because a lot of, normal people, a lot of passerbys are under, they've been sold this idea that it's decentralized, it's unhackable, it's unbreakable, you own it, it's yours forever, that it's this thing that they have forever and it's super secure and the blockchain is the future. And granted, you're not one of those crypto bros, but there are those guys who oversell the absolute shit out of it and make it sound like something it's not. So the public perception becomes, oh, this is the value in this thing. This is why it's real. And then when they see one of these that collapses and that falls apart, they don't see that a thing just failed and that it's not what I thought. They don't look at it like that. They see it as, oh, it was a scam. They just stole everybody's stuff because they were supposed to have that forever and now they don't.
Yeah, I'm gonna just say something on that right here too. I'll be honest, there's 2 reasons people don't like blockchain in my book. Two big ones. There's other ones, these are the biggies. Number one is they just genuinely have no idea what they're talking about. They don't like it the way they don't like nuclear power plants. Maybe they don't. Maybe
or they don't like
nuclear power plants.
Or they don't like fracking. Fracking's the new one.
Sure, and I don't know anything about nuclear or fracking. All I know is I don't know enough about it to hate it yet, right? I do know enough about
Which is a
blockchain.
very reasonable approach, but yeah,
Well, I
a
mean, I
lot of
don't
people
know.
don't take that approach. There are a lot of people who would tell you fracking bad and are actually protesting it, and then you ask them what is fracking? Why is it bad? Well,
Right, right.
well, politician A said politician B wanted, yeah, and then yeah, it boils down to that most of the time.
But number two is, and I'm going to be just totally honest here. Nobody wants to hear it, but I'm going to say it. People are very jealous. When your friend
Yep.
who spent $500 in magical internet money now gets to never work forever and lives on a private island, yeah, you're pissed. Like
You
you're
shouldn't be.
pissed.
You should be happy for said friend. Maybe he'll share some of it with
Well,
you if you pat him on the back.
I agree, but I'm just, it's very hard. Like for example, I
No, no,
have.
it's human nature. I've seen it like it's like that in real life. It's not just about money. Like I have yelled at more than one of those fucking alpha male bros where they see some skinny nerdy guy who's just pulling chicks left and right, and they are jealous because they're hitting the gym every day. They're the fucking alpha male and they think they're better than this guy. How come he gets all the women? Why is he getting all this stuff? And I'm like, hey, have you thought about not hating on him for 2 seconds and just like asking him, like
Well, but no, let me
maybe
just
he'll
say,
tell you. Yeah, like try to be his friend. Maybe he can tell you what his secret is instead of just immediately getting jealous and hating on the guy.
I mean, that's a pretty apt comparison, but let me paint you a much better one, right?
Okay.
Not that yours was bad, just I'd say more accurate, not better. You're a financial advisor. Okay, you've told 1,000 clients, don't buy Bitcoin at $50.
Okay.
Okay, your options are demonize it or look like a total buffoon. But those are your options. You can either say I had no idea what I was talking about and I failed to make you all amazing returns, or you can say, oh, this is a scam, it's a Ponzi, it's bad for everything, and even
True.
if it did go up, you'd be morally repugnant to participate in it, and that's why I didn't buy it. I knew it was going to go up, but I knew it was bad.
Basically, you can't admit you're wrong, so there has to be another reason.
And it's, I
Yeah.
mean, let's be honest. Like, let me give you the. I know you got to go, but let me just. I got to say this one. This is my favorite one. I
Okay.
know the Justice League of Anti-Coiners. Back when I had my real Twitter, I debated many of them. Okay, I didn't debate this guy. You know who Ben McKenzie is?
Not off the top of my head. Name
Ben
vaguely
McKenzie is.
rings a bell. I think maybe CoffeeZilla's mentioned him a time or two.
He's the actor from the OC. He's also
Oh,
Alfred
okay.
on
Yeah.
Gotham.
No. Yeah. It just hit me. Yeah. The
Okay,
CoffeeZilla has mentioned him. Okay.
he wrote a book when Bitcoin was, I believe it was 24,000 going down to 16 before it went back up to 73,000, like as
Yeah.
of late. And the whole book is about how it's essentially going to go to zero. He's an expert. He did the study. He read the maps. He knows what he's talking about. And you know, don't buy it. Don't
Ah, yes.
participate in it.
The Terrence
He was
Howard of crypto.
also he was also one of the two anti-crypto experts at the congressional oversight hearing on banking and regulations as it pertains to crypto. He was the expert
What
witness.
what what qualifies him as said expert witness though?
He's willing to say everything bad under the sun. That's why
So
Elizabeth Warren
nothing.
pulled his
The
ass
answer
out of
was
town.
nothing. Okay.
Right, nothing. Now, he stopped tweeting after it got to about 38,000. Right, he just stopped tweeting. This happens a lot. Stephen Deal, another great example. They always join they join at the beginning of the fall of every cycle. So Bitcoin goes to its top, then it starts to plummet. They spend 2 years of their life typing, ha ha ha, I was right, it's going to zero. Then
And
it
then it
starts to
starts
go
coming
back up,
back up.
and
Yeah.
they delete their Twitter. It's too. I mean, literally, I won't mention them by name just to keep it respectful, but I've really thought as a troll of going to this one person's Twitter and writing something like, I bought $1 million worth of Bitcoin when it was 50. I've been reading your Twitter for years. When it went down to 16,000, I sold all of it, which means I had to sell my house because I mortgaged my house to buy that Bitcoin at 50 because I listened to you, and then it went
And
down to
you were wrong.
16 and I sold it. Now I would have been rich. I'm suing your ass.
And I'm not sure you could sue over that, but I
Well,
understand the anger.
Let me say this out. If I in crypto say this coin is going to the moon and it's going to bring you lots of money, the SEC will immediately take me to court. But if I do the complete opposite, I say, "Oh, you should sell your entire investment because it's going to zero, even if you're going to lose your house in the process," and I'm wrong, the SEC says nothing. They're both financial
Well, from what I've
advice.
noticed it's a lot in the wording. So if you're telling someone, like, yes, what you're saying is probably illegal, and it would be illegal the other way too.
I mean, they literally
But
say it's
but
going to zero. That
but
is what they say.
it's not about them saying what it's going to do. It's about whether or not they're telling people to do it. So, like, common phrase you'll hear all the time is, "I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice." And then they proceed to give you the financial advice.
So I
It's
had
just kind of the
a
legal
lawyer
out.
that I worked with for a while because I've done a few crypto projects in my day. We had to have a couple guys on a legal team. You can't make any prediction at all. You can't say it'll go up. You can't say it'll go down. You can't say anything like that. If you make a prediction of something's future value, there's a great line from American Dad, which is, I'll translate it to this. I didn't say it was a good idea to sell it. I just said it was going to zero. But it was heavily implied. It was heavily implied.
Yeah, but
Right?
that's where the legal process comes into, like, is it illegal to imply something? Because now you have to interpret someone's original meaning, and then they're telling you,
Well,
well, I didn't
apparently it
mean it
is
that
when
way.
Kim
But
Kardashian tweets out this coin is going to the moon and the SEC slaps her with a $250,000 fine, right? She didn't say you should buy this. She said this coin is going to moon. That's all they say. Man, literally, this is not financial advice. That doesn't mean anything. Saying that phrase before you give an hour's worth of financial advice does not protect you from anything.
well, I mean, I can have my personal disagreements with it. Like, I don't
But how about
personally
this? How
think
about
she should have
writing
been
an
fined for
entire
saying
book?
it. I mean, there's a free speech thing. I don't feel like she personally should have been fined for saying it. It seems
Fair enough.
like if all she said is it's going to the moon, you can interpret that so many ways. And the idea that you could be legally held accountable because someone interpreted a way you didn't mean. Well, I said it was going to the moon. I didn't say when.
Well, how about
Yeah,
writing an
you know.
entire book about how it's going to zero?
Now, depending on how detailed you are, like, obviously it's a case by case basis thing. But if I'm going on the Kim Kardashian said it's going to the moon, that's all she said, and then we're fining her for that. Well, that's bullshit. Because, okay, well, she didn't A, tell anyone to buy it. B, she said going to the moon. She didn't say when. She didn't even say what that meant. Like, it's that there's so much of that phrase that's open to interpretation. I am far against the idea of policing language. And that kind of sounds like that's what we're doing now. Is we're trying to interpret. We're thought policing her, and giving her a fine on what we thought she meant, even if it's heavily implied. What if she's just a fucking retard
Well,
who was
to be
trying to
fair,
meme, and now we're finding someone over a meme? Like, not
I
on
did
board with
forget
that.
to mention that she did get paid to say that, so that was
That changes it. Okay, so that changes anything then. Because I was like, okay, so because you invoke a little bit of fear there when you're like, you can say this and you'll be fine. Because now normal people are like, wait, I say that shit on Reddit all the time, or I see that shit on Twitter all the time. Are all those people going to get fined? Should I report them? Well, like, it's fine to say that. It's fine to say it's going to the moon. You can have your opinion on it. If, in your opinion, you might think it's going to the moon, it's not illegal to be wrong. You can be wrong. You can have a wrong opinion. If you're getting paid to say it, on the other hand, well, that's a different story. That's not free speech at that point. You are now a paid actor.
You definitely always want to say, in my opinion, first, too. That's the one thing I got.
In the same way. Yeah, and in the same way that a YouTuber has to legally disclose when they have a sponsor on a video. If you're being paid to say a thing, I believe the same thing kind of applies there. You have to legally disclose that you're a paid sponsor of blah, 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 that it's a paid spot. You can't just take money to say a thing and disguise it as your own expertise, your own opinion. Like, you can't manipulate your audience for cash. So that's probably more why she was fined than less about the fact that she was wrong.
Well, and just tying it up too in a bow. I mean, it does disturb me deeply that people hate what they call crypto so much. Like, my favorite debate ever was Peter Schiff versus some Bitcoin chick, and he literally had to do the Game of Thrones line. So she's like, Peter, gold is up only 60% this year. Bitcoin's up 200%, and it's up over 1,000,000% since it started. And he goes, no, actually, Bitcoin's been going down for years. And the host of the show goes, what are you talking about? It just hit an all-time high. He literally did the thing. Bitcoin going up's just a story we tell to the children. No such thing, really. Like, on live television.
Yeah, it's...
As you're looking at the chart at the all-time highs, like,
yeah, that happens. Yeah, the gaslighting is real. Politics has normalized the fuck out of that. Like, that is super common in politics for you to see the same thing I saw and tell me it didn't happen. Don't even. January 6th is another debate in itself where I know what I saw, but you're telling me I didn't see what I saw? What we all saw? No, it wasn't what it looked like.
We agree 100%. It's disturbing as fuck how people now, they're saying, I've seen videos where they got let in. It's like, what are you talking about? You just type it into the internet. There's thousands of pictures of them breaking in.
Both things are true. And then you try to explain that, and you try to explain that to them, that both things happened. They broke in first, and when the police were overwhelmed, in order to handle the situation, they let them in so that they could steer them, since they love to go with it was a guided tour. Yeah, they did guide them. They were trying to guide them away from the people they were protecting. If you can't beat them back with force, then try to use another method. Letting them in and steering them away from the people who were trying to escape, distracting them, pointing them in a different direction, giving them false information. Yeah, that was a tactic. Yes, they did let them in, but not for the reason you think they did.
Yeah. I mean, it's that. Yeah, that one's one of the more disturbing ones I see right now from the right. But anyway, it was fun chatting. I know you got your stuff to do.
Oh yeah, this was fun. We should definitely do this more often. I am always open to. If you haven't joined the Discord, how do I post something to this? I'm still learning.
Man, I'm basically a ghost, to be honest. Like, I'm breaking all my rules just by joining.
Oh, there is nothing wrong with lurking. I got a lot of people in my Discord who are there to observe and see it. I got a couple hundred people in there, way more than actually show up for my stream. So if you guys are watching, or if you guys watch this VOD, maybe show up for the streams. Don't just hang out in the Discord. But how do I post something to here so you can join it and you can?
I think you can just DM it if you want. You're Twitter Blue, right?
I am not.
I'll follow you just if you want to DM me, and then I'll go back to unfollow.
What is manage space? How do I? Wait,
you can just click me. You hit my profile, hit follow, then just send the message, then you unfollow.
Okay. No, I mean, I'll leave you a follow. There's no big deal there.
Followers.
Okay, so here's a link to the Discord, good for 7 days. So there, I was trying to figure out how did you post something to the room like that? Like you posted this link at the top.
Just go to any tweet, anywhere on Twitter, and then the
so it has to be a tweet. Like I can't just post anything.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any tweet, bottom right, click the symbol. It's like a box with an up arrow, and then at the top of the thing that comes up, it just shows your room, and you just hit the room.
Yeah, so I can share it to the room. Okay, because I was wondering, like, okay, if let's say in the future, by some miracle this stuff does take off, and I get a Twitter space with a bunch of people in it, we get to have proper debates, and hey, if you're around, it'd be nice to have somebody to keep these people wrangled. I could need a co-host, but let's say I wanted to share something to the room that I found online or, whatever, as part of a debate. I want to cite a source or something. So basically what I'd have to do is I'd have to tweet that first and then share that tweet.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay. Well, this was fun. It's always nice having you around. I enjoy our conversations. It's nice to talk to someone who knows what they're talking about and has, has
I
general
know
like
some
level-headed. I mean, it's nice to talk to someone who thinks like I think, who is just like grounded and not like so far out there that you can just see the world for what it is and just analyze it for what you see instead of the normal conversations I've had with people. It's a breath of fresh air is what I'm getting at. But yeah, it's always nice to have you around. So,
Yeah.
and I
for
could
sure.
use, you can always leave. Maybe I'll make a separate room in the Discord for it. Recommendations for topics for Twitter Spaces. I'm always looking for new things to talk about and discuss, whether or not it's a debate or just a discussion or just friendly chat. Just it's always good to have a good topic. So I'm always open to ideas for Twitter Spaces. Whether or not I'll know a lot about them's a different story. But hey, I'm going to talk about anything.
One thing you should do is when you have a room going, you should change the name of your space often because it reboosts it to like top of
Oh,
boards. Yeah,
that I didn't
like
know.
you could just delete the is and be like Twitch is racist. And you just change it back and forth and every 20 minutes and hopefully it'll attract some
Yeah,
attention. It's also the
just keep it on
words
there.
that people are going to type in.
Can I use hashtags in the name to help it gain some traction? Like if I were to put like is hashtag Twitch really racist instead of just is Twitch, would that make a difference?
You can, but like it's really the keywords. Like when I look, because if you're on your phone, you can just look at spaces here on a tab, right? So I just type in things like debate versus Trump, crypto, Bitcoin. Like I just type in the different words, and you'll
Wonder why
get
they don't
different
have that on the website, because there is no way to search spaces on the website itself. Like I had to go to a separate website, Spaces something, that actually just shows spaces for everywhere spaces are hosted, not just Twitter. But yeah, there is like someone told me that before. Like you just hit the spaces button, and then when I look on the sidebar on PC, I'm like, there ain't no fucking spaces button. There's trending,
Yeah,
there's
I don't
search.
know if they
Yeah,
have that anymore for PC. Um, I'm not sure.
yeah, because obviously I'm doing it all through my PC while I'm streaming, so that the audio comes through and everything's nice and clean.
One thing you can do is you can go on your like you basically you make a separate Twitter and they're going to be the host of the room, but then you're the co-host. Like you open up the room searches on your phone and then well, I guess it wouldn't really matter if you're making your own room. But the point I'm trying to make is a lot of people basically they join on their phone and then they join on their PC after. So like you find the room in your phone and then you
Join
just
it,
join that by typing it in.
and then use your main account on the PC to join the other account, and then you just leave with the other account. Got it? Kind of piggyback
Right.
off of them.
Or you start the room with an account on your phone and then you join with the account you're using now. That way, if you want to like ban someone from your room or mute them, but you're in the middle of a game, you can just do that on your phone while you're still on your computer without like alt tabbing to the Twitter part.
True. I mean, I got 3 monitors here, so I can keep my eye on everything. But yeah, it is like having to do it in game. If something happens, there is going to be a bit of a delay while I try to alt tab out of the game, get over to the Twitter tab, and start clicking on things.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it's good talking. Hit me up.
Likewise, have a good one, man. I'll see you next time. I'm in this space now. All right, so there we go. Little Twitter space, nice friendly debate. All right, so I guess I'll be cutting 2 VODs out of this. So if you're watching on YouTube, I hope you enjoyed the debate / discussion, and I wouldn't really call that a debate. I wanted to pick that guy's brain more about cryptocurrency, but he kind of came in at the tail end. So if you haven't seen the video about Twitch, the follow-up to Twitch and its inconsistent enforcement of the rules, where we played all of Hassan's clips, and we were basically, the title of this Twitter space was Twitch Racist, and we were going over all of that. So he kind of came in at the tail end of that. I think the majority of this conversation was more about crypto. I wanted to pick his brain about that. I know he doesn't like when I call it crypto, but that's the normie terms, and that's what everyone understands, so that's what I'm going to call it. I have a very base level understanding of it, probably more than an average person, but definitely not as much as him. So I was trying to figure out like how does he navigate this and try to make it into a digestible format that we can all like learn from. Like is this really a scam, or is there a way to safely navigate it? And, you know, like, what's the value in it? All of those questions people genuinely wonder. So hope y'all learned a lot. I feel like there's still deeper we can go in it, but I don't have the time tonight. For now, though, I am going to end the stream. So I want to thank all of you for watching.